Chapter 0001 Konoha. The sun is shining brightly, and the sky is cloudless. On the street, a small shop with a plaque of Aria manga store officially opened. The facade is not big and the decoration is simple. It is divided into upper and lower floors. The lower floor is for business and the upper floor is for people. The lower floor is about 100 square meters, displaying a row of ancient wooden bookshelves and several sets of tables and chairs, which looks quite antique. Hey, it's finally open for business. After doing all the preparations before the opening, Shen Ye sat on the chair at the cashier and let out a long sigh. No one knew that Shen Ye was actually a transmigrator. In this life, he is 20 years old, and it has been 20 years since he traveled to the world of Hokage. Traversal is good, but as a transmigrator who has neither system nor Tsutsuki blood, it is not so beautiful in this bloodline world. Shen Ye's parents were both Konoha genin with no background. When Shen Ye was young, he was one of countless cannon fodders in the Third Ninja World War and died on the front-line battlefield. And Shen Ye didn't go to the ninja school because he didn't have the qualifications to practice ninjutsu, so he could only be an ordinary villager in Konoha village. Shen Ye thought that he would live a normal life like this, but 2 days ago, he suddenly opened a system called God Level Comic Shop. The comic shop he opened is the official startup condition of the system. Any customer who wants to enter the store, spend 5,000 taels for the first time to come in and read the comic, and 100% will get a reward from the comic after reading it. It could be a skill, it could be an item, it could be a creature. And the tickets will grow as the number of times increases. The first time is 5,000 taels, the second time is 10,000 taels, the third time is 20,000 taels, the fourth time is 40,000 taels, the fifth time is 80,000 taels. The price will double every time. Shen Ye, as the shop owner, and the system 55 cents of the money. At the same time, Shen Ye is absolutely invincible in the comic shop, and he can choose one of the rewards that all customers get to be his own every day. There are currently only 3 comics on the shelves of the comic store: Cut, Crimson Eyes, Dragon Babu and Sailor Moon, Part 1. If you want other comics, you can only buy them from the system, and every 10 customers who watch comics can draw a new comic. Therefore, only the more customers, the more comics the comic shop can produce, and the more benefits Shen Ye can get. As a novice benefit, the first 3 comics drawn by Shen Ye only need to be drawn for every 3 customers. Shen Ye leaned back on the chair and made a cup of black tea. Next, just waiting for the first customer to come to the door is enough. However, 2 hours passed and there was still no customer. There were people coming and going on the street, but no one came in to read the comics. Even if there are 1 or 2 people who come to ask occasionally, but when they hear that reading this comic costs 5,000 taels, they turn their heads and leave, secretly thinking that the shop owner is probably crazy about money. The 5,000 taels in the Hokage world are almost equivalent to the value of Shen Ye's 3,500 soft sister coins in his previous life. For ordinary people, this is already worth a month's salary. Who would pay so much to come in and read this comic? Especially when Shen Ye introduced that he could get a reward in the book after reading the comic, he was even scorned. Can you get what's in the comics by reading the comics? Are the lines of liars so unreliable these days? In this regard, Shen Ye is too lazy to explain. He is very aware of the power of the God-level comic shop. As long as the first customer comes to the door, the reputation can be quickly sold, and there is no need to worry about the source of customers. Suddenly, Shen Ye's eyes flashed. I noticed that in the alley opposite the comic store, a petite figure was secretly hiding behind the corner, looking into the store with a pair of pure white eyes. Hinata. Shen Ye's expression moved slightly, and then a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He had a hunch that his first customer was coming. Shen Ye traveled to the world of Hokage and changed some plots in the original book by chance. For example, protecting Hinata in front of Naruto when she was a child, for example, stir up Asuma's pursuit of Yuhaka. And now is the time period when Hinata's genin has just graduated from the ninja school. Hinata, who was peeking at the comic shop, suddenly met Shen Ye's gaze, as if something bad had been discovered, and hurriedly hid behind the corner of the wall. Have I been discovered? If Shen Ye-kun found out that I was secretly watching him, I would be ashamed. Hinata's 2 slender fingers kept touching each other. Because of her nervousness and shyness, her pretty face heated up sharply and turned bright red. She originally knew that Shen Ye's comic shop opened today, and wanted to come and cheer. But as soon as she got close to the comic store, she suddenly didn't dare to go in. As soon as she came into contact with Shen Ye, she would become super nervous. Even if she said a word to Shen Ye, she didn't dare to look directly at her. At this time, Shen Ye stood on the inside of the door and said, "Hinata, is that you? The comic shop is open from 8 am to 5 pm. During business hours, Shen Ye could only stay in the comic shop. If it weren't for this, Shen Ye would have already taken to the streets to pp. No, it was soliciting. Shen Ye-kun, yes, it's me." Knowing that she had been found, Hinata walked out of the corner with her head down and blushing, tapping her 2 fingers. Sure enough, Shen Ye-kun saw it. Shen Ye invited, "How about it, do you want to come to the store to read the comics?" "Okay." Hearing this, Hinata lowered her head and walked over, getting closer, sneaking a glance at Shen Ye, and then quickly turning her head. "Shen Ye-kun is looking at me. I must not be nervous." "Not nervous, I am not nervous." Finally getting the first customer, Shen Ye ushered Hinata into the comic shop. Introducing the 3 comic books alone on the bookshelf, now the store has just opened, and the 3 comics / Crimson Eye, Dragon Babu and Sailor Moon, Part 1 are launched. You can read the introduction first and then decide which one to read. Each customer can only read 1 comic per day, the first time it only needs 5,000 taels, and it will double every time after that. I just look at this." Hinata blushed and didn't pick it up at all. He directly picked up Dragon Babu on the shelf, took out 5,000 taels and put it on the cashier. Shen Ye couldn't help sighing. It is worthy of being the princess of the Hyuga family, the rich and beautiful Baifume. 5,000 taels will be taken as soon as possible. Hinata took the manga to his seat and opened Dragon Babu. Originally, the girl's heart seemed to be bumped by a deer, but when she flipped through the comics, she was quickly attracted by the plot of Dragon Babu. Chapter 0002. What an admirable Xiao Feng! By the time Hinata finished watching Dragon Babu, more than an hour had passed. Closing the comic book, Hinata suddenly found that his eyes were covered with a faint mist. There are 3 male protagonists and 3 storylines in Tianlong Babu. However, Xiao Feng's story touched her the most. A true hero who stands upright in the sky, loyal to his liver, righteousness and courage, worthy of others, but ended up jumping off a cliff and committing suicide. One cannot but sigh that it is God's will. In particular, the love between Xiao Feng and Azu was so poignant that it was hard to let go for a long time. Although it is regrettable at this point, Hinata has to admit that Dragon Babu is indeed a good story worthy of aftertaste. On love, there is such a life-giving love. As for brothers, there are brothers who go through fire and water side by side. In terms of loyalty and righteousness, there is a hero who can only solve the battlefield for the country and die. She had never seen such a wonderful comic before, and she was even in a trance after reading it. Is this the end? A good comic is just that. Watching it once is like experiencing a life in person, and I don't want to give up the ending. At this time, a message appeared on Shen Ye's system interface. Customer Hyuga Hinata has finished reading the 8 parts of the Heavenly Dragon and obtained Taiju Edition 18 Palms of Subduing the Dragon. Taishu Edition 18 Palms for Subduing Dragons. This palm technique is a unique technique of the Beggar Gang Town Gang, with a total of 18 moves. Known as the pinnacle of foreign power in the world. Taishu Edition, 18 Palms of Subduing the Dragon has been systematically transformed and can be used by Chakra. It is more powerful and has the power of crushing rocks. Hinata's luck is good, she actually drew the 18 dragon subduing palms. Seeing the system information, Shen Ye smiled. Looking at the many martial arts works of Master Jin, if the most famous martial arts is concerned, the 18 palms of subduing the dragon must be the first. Xiao Feng, Hong Qigong and Guo Jing are the most famous masters all over the world with this set of palm techniques. This palm method has gone through several dynasties, but its prestige has never diminished. Moreover, the system converts it into a version that can be practiced in the Hokage world, and the power is enhanced on the original basis. This was perfect for the Hyuga clan, who had been majoring in physique. At this moment, in the bookstore. A dazzling brilliance radiated from the void and did not enter Hinata's body directly. This is... Hinata's little face showed shock. She felt a mysterious message pouring into her mind. It seems that there are 18 human-shaped patterns, and they are constantly practicing the 18 palms. A high dragon has regrets, a flying dragon is in the sky, a dragon is in the field when you see it, and a hidden dragon should not be used. These 18 palms are firm and soft, curved or straight, all of which contain the incomparable truth of martial arts. Exactly, Xiaofeng's unique skill in the 8 parts of Tianlong I just watched, 18 palms of subduing the dragon. Soon, the installation of the palm technique was completed. Hinata looked at the information about the 18 dragon subduing palms in his mind and was shocked. The 18 palms of dragon subduing have both hardness and softness, and they are invincible. They are not weaker than the advanced gentle fist of the Hyuga family, and they are even stronger in some aspects. What struck Hinata the most, however, was that what Shen Ye said is true. Really just read the manga and get the power from it. You don't even need to practice anything, you can directly master it and use it freely. This is too incredible, right? It's like a dream, I'm afraid no one will believe it if I say it. The 18 dragon subduing palms is a very powerful palm technique. Shen Ye chuckled to Hinata, who was still in a state of shock. How about it, do you want to try its power? Hinata finally came to his senses at this time, convinced that all this was true, and said a little embarrassedly, Shen Ye-kun, that. I'm afraid I accidentally break the things here. If it was her before, she wouldn't say that. She just graduated from the ninja school, and the gentle fist of the Hyuga family is still at a level that cannot be released. You can only rely on the eyes to observe the meridians in the opponent's body, and then use the gentle fist to attack the acupuncture points, which will not cause any scope damage. But the 18 dragon subduing palms is different. The power of the palm technique is fierce and tyrannical, and even the palm wind is not something that ordinary people can easily bear. Not at all comparable to the junior gentle fist of her previous master. She wasn't sure if she was going to spoil something in the comic store. In this regard, Shen Ye just smiled indifferently and said, it's okay, you can try. In this store, as long as I don't want to, no one can destroy anything. Then, Shen Ye-kun, I'll give it a try. Seeing what Shen Ye said, Hinata was really looking forward to the power of the 18 dragon subduing palms, so he opened his stance and prepared to use it. Moment, the fighting spirit in Hinata's eyes suddenly soared. Chakra is running in the body, like a surging river. The legs follow the waist, and the waist follows the arms. Not moving like loose, moving like thunder. Chakra swirled around the petite jade palm like a blue flame, and shot it out with a single blow. Kong Long has regrets. A blue palm print carried the wind and slammed out violently and unparalleled. The palm print whistled, the sound was like the roar of a dragon, and the momentum was overwhelming, if a world-defying dragon broke out of the sea. Even Hinata was frightened by his own palm. I am so strong? Even with mental preparation, Hinata was taken aback. Dragon subduing 18 palms is worthy of being the #1 external skill in martial arts, even her genin display is so powerful. However, she soon felt bad. Because this palm print went straight to Shen Ye, but Shen Ye didn't even hide. When the palm print approached, Shen Ye waved his hand gently. Kong Long, who was originally amazing, had regrets, but it suddenly vanished, as if it never existed. Shen Ye-kun. Hinata's eyes widened, completely shocked. If Shen Ye just took the blow, she wouldn't be so shocked. But Shen Ye turned it into nothing. Taking an attack and making an attack invisible are two completely different concepts. With Shen Ye alone, she was convinced that even her father, Hyuga Hayashi, the strongest of the Hyuga clan, would definitely not be able to do it. Shen Ye-kun is still a hidden powerhouse? I didn't even know it before. But thinking about it, Hinata thinks it's the other way around. How can someone who can open such a comic shop be an ordinary person? Shen Ye smiled and asked, how about it, the power of the 18 dragon subduing palms? Hinata was startled, then said seriously, it's very strong. Worth it? Yes. Hinata nodded hurriedly. This is already a powerful physical technique comparable to the Hyuga family's high-level gentle fist. And he did not need to practice hard to directly master the 18 palms of dragon subduing, his strength suddenly improved a notch. Isn't it worth it? Simply worth it. Not to mention 5,000 taels, even 500,000 taels are a big bargain. Shen Ye said with a smile, then give me a chance to promote it, little Hinata. Little Hinata. Shen Ye-kun called me, little Hinata? Hinata, who was called this way, instantly felt as if his heart had been penetrated by something, his entire brain was blank, and white steam kept rising from the top of his head. At this time, Naruto passed by the entrance of the manga store with his head leaning on his hands. Looking at the plaque, he couldn't help but wonder, Aria manga store, it only opened today, right? It's an interesting name. Go in and see if there are any interesting manga. Asterisk. Chapter 0003. Naruto walked into the comic shop, saw Hinata blushing, and said hello, Hinata, you are here too. Yes yes. Hinata's mind is still wandering in that little Hinata, confused. Are you okay? Looking at Hinata's dazed appearance, he couldn't hear anything. Naruto's mouth twitched, and he looked at Shen Ye without asking any more questions, expecting, boss, what comics do you have here? Because the villagers avoided him, very few people wanted to play with him. Therefore, Naruto likes to read manga when he is alone, at least it can make him forget some troubles. Over time, he read all the comics in the Konoha village comic shop. Now that there is such a newly opened comic shop, he is looking forward to whether new comics will be published. At present, only these 3 books on the shelf are released, Cut. Crimson Eye, Dragon Babu and Sailor Moon. Shen Ye said. Only 3 comics? Wait, these are comics I've never read before. Naruto walked over to the bookshelf and looked at the covers of the 3 comic books, and finally picked up the Sailor Moon and said with a spoof smile, hey, the cover of this Sailor Moon looks good. A beautiful girl in a sailor suit can be used as a material for practicing seduction. Boss, is this bendo less money? The first time you charge 5,000 taels, you can only read 1 book a day, and the price doubles every time after that. Nanny. Naruto, who was about to pay, immediately widened his eyes when he heard the price. How much, how much? 5,000 taels. Naruto made sure he heard correctly, and was completely stunned. 5,000 taels to read this comic? Will the price double every time? Only read 1 book a day? Boss, is your comic shop too dark? Naruto couldn't help shouting, 5,000 taels, boss, you are too expensive. How could someone spend so much money on comics? Hinata immediately regained consciousness and explained for Shen Ye, Shen Ye-kun's comic book, as long as you read it, you can get a reward from the comic. I just got a very powerful palm technique. 5,000 taels is a very cheap price. Look, is this what people say? 5,000 taels is still very cheap? After reading the comics, you can also get an award from the comics, and many more. Rewards for reading comics. Hinata got a very powerful palm? Naruto suddenly heard the point of the sentence, and light flashed in his eyes. Although he has learned multiple shadow clone techniques now, he will be able to use such a trick back and forth. It was only when he was bewitched by Mizuki to steal second Hokage's forbidden technique scroll that he took the opportunity to learn it. In addition, there is no serious attack method. Playing against the great fireball technique Sasuke, every time I am at a loss. In fact, this is the situation for the average Konoha shinobi. Without a family background and no upper-level cultivation, those who have just become Jonin will only be able to learn the 3-body technique and throwing kunao taught in the ninja school. If I can get some powerful abilities, I can teach Sasuke, that guy who pulls to the sky, a good lesson. But when I think of the sky-high price of 5,000 taels... Naruto gritted his teeth and opened his frog purse. Wow, various steel bills covered the table. Naruto counted it carefully several times, put a handful of money in Shen Ye's hand, and said tearfully, Boss, this is all my belongings. If you lie to me, I will definitely fight you. Shen Ye took the money and said, there is definitely a reward, but I can't guarantee it, it depends on your luck. Hey, I'm a man who wants to become Hokage, how can I be unlucky? After paying the money, Naruto happily took the Sailor Moon and ran to the side to read. Hinata's pretty face had 2 red clouds hanging on her face, she didn't dare to look directly at Shen Ye, she whispered, Shen Ye-kun, I'm going home first. Shen Ye sat back in his seat and waved his hand with a smile. Hinata also waved his hand and turned to leave. She made up her mind that she would definitely give Shen Ye a good publicity when she went back. Nearly an hour later, Naruto finished watching Sailor Moon and said with tears in his eyes, the Moonhair and the others fought so hard to defeat Queen Belial, and finally lost their memory and started a new encounter, woo woo woo, it looks so sad. Seeing Naruto like this, Shen Ye shook his head speechlessly. Watching Sailor Moon makes you so sad? Would it be worth it if you could watch it? At this time, a message appears on the system interface. Customer Uzumaki Naruto has finished reading Sailor Moon and got transformation into a Hungarian needle. Transformation of the Hungarian needle that can transform the master into a moon sailor soldier, and can display the abilities of a moon sailor soldier after transformation. A brilliant light fell on Naruto's hand. Wait until the brilliance dissipates. A golden Hungarian needle appeared in his hand. Naruto stunned, this is... Shen Ye introduced, the Hungarian needle for moon hair to transform into. With it, you can also become a sailor warrior. It turned out to be a Hungarian needle, no wonder it looks a little familiar. Naruto picked up the transformation needle and touched it lightly. Suddenly, a circle of colorful Madara ripples swayed from the Hungarian needle. Naruto's fingers waved in the void, and white gloves and sailor suits appeared on Naruto's body one after another. The light dissipated. A Naruto in a moon sailor suit appears. Shen Ye looked at Naruto, who had transformed, and started complaining for some reason. All I can say is, it's really irritating to NM's eyes. Naruto looked down at his clothes and said dissatisfiedly, Boss, what's going on? Shen Ye said, you use the transforming Hungarian needle to gain the ability of the Sailor Moon, and naturally you will also become this sailor's clothes. Naruto said angrily, I didn't mean clothes. I mean, why didn't I become a beautiful girl? Shen Ye, wood style. Big lifting table technique. Shen Ye wanted to say, Naruto, you won. So this is your focus? What should I say? All I can say is that it is you Naruto, the ninja of the number 1 accident. Come on. Give him Li Zongtang's gun license. On the street. Sasuke put his hands in kabuto and walked under the shade with his head down. Suddenly, a girl with pink hair rushed out from the corner. Behind the pink-haired girl's hands, she pretended to be surprised, Sasuke, what a coincidence. I was about to go shopping, and I ran into you unexpectedly. Sasuke kept walking with his head down, as if he didn't hear anything. How can it be repaired? Ignored again. In order to pretend to meet you here, I waited for a whole hour. Harano Sakura growled inside. But Harano Sakura walked up with a smile on the surface. Hey, Sasuke, what are you going to do? It's almost noon, you haven't eaten yet, do you want us to have a meal together? Need not. Sasuke still put his hands in kabuto and said coldly. Mad. People finally mustered up the courage to take the initiative once, but rejected me so simply. Harano Sakura's inner drama is even more maddening. Sasuke was passing by in front of the manga store at this time, and happened to see Naruto wearing a moon sailor suit. Naruto also happened to turn his head and saw Sasuke. The two looked at each other, stunned for a few seconds. Black lines appeared on Sasuke's forehead. Naruto was about to share with Sasuke about his discovery of this magical comic shop, and he waved, Hey, Sasuke, come on. Come on, there's something fun here, come on. Sasuke's face changed, and then he said coldly, even if you are short of money, you shouldn't do such a thing. Naruto was stunned, looked down at his sailor suit, realized what Sasuke meant, and said angrily, BD. What do you think I'm doing? I greeted you, and asked you to come with me. Sasuke shook his head, do it yourself, I'm not interested. I outnumber you in percent. Naruto pointed at Sasuke with the sweetheart moon stick in his hand, and said angrily, BD Sasuke, I will destroy you on behalf of the moon. Asterisk. Chapter 0004. Naruto. Seeing Naruto in the moon sailor suit, Harano Sakura suddenly became annoyed, pinched his waist and scolded, what the hell are you doing here, you are still wearing women's clothes. Naruto changed his expression and said excitedly, Little Sakura, I found this manga shop to be super powerful, and you can get the abilities in the manga by reading the manga here. My clothes are the ability to transform into a needle. How about it? Isn't it fun? What are you kidding? Harano Sakura hummed, how could such a thing happen? Of course it's true, Hinata just got a really good palm too. Naruto said proudly. Harano Sakura covered his forehead and said helplessly, but, can you change your look first? You man, wearing a woman's miniskirt is really disgusting. Hey, it's easy. Call Harano Sakura breathed a sigh of relief. It's so rare that Naruto finally listened to it once. Seduction. Naruto squeezed the seal with both hands, and a puff of white smoke came out. Naruto, a girl with golden double ponytails in a moon sailor suit, appeared, made a provocative gesture, winked at Harano Sakura, and said, is that what you mean? Harano Sakura was petrified on the spot. What do I mean by this? I asked you to change the woman's clothes, but you'd better become a woman directly. Hearing Naruto's words, Sasuke, who was about to leave, stopped and couldn't help asking, "Can you read the manga here and get the power in it?" If this comic shop can really gain power by reading comics, then he can take revenge on that man earlier. Although he also thought it was ridiculous. However, the thought of revenge made Sasuke forget about other doubts and wanted to give it a try. Shen Ye, who was sitting in the store, drank the black tea lightly and said, "Anything in the world related to comics is possible. As long as you are lucky enough, you can even become stronger than Hokage directly. Better than Hokage." Haruno Sakura's pupils dilated, obviously unable to believe this sentence. The current ruling third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen is the strongest in Konoha village. Although he does not have the limit of blood, he has mastered thousands of various types of ninjutsu by his own ability. But this young boss actually said that as long as you read comics in this comic shop, it is possible to surpass such a powerful third Hokage at once? How can that be? And Naruto, who has experienced the magic of this comic shop firsthand, has no doubts about it. Although he reveres Hokage, he also dreams of becoming a Hokage. But this magical comic shop is really full of possibilities, and it's not impossible to say that you can get more power than third Hokage from comics. I want to try it, Sasuke said with burning eyes. For revenge, no matter how small it might be worth a shot for him. Naruto patted Sasuke on the shoulder and smiled, "Don't worry Sasuke, you will never be disappointed." Shen Ye said, "The first time you charge 5,000 taels, you can only read one book a day, and the price doubles every time after that." 2. Is it too expensive? Haruno Sakura clicked, she had never heard of such an expensive manga store. And every time the price doubles? Wouldn't it be hundreds of thousands of millions of taels if you watched it a few more times? Sasuke's face moved slightly. In fact, his financial situation is not much better than Naruto's, and his life basically depends on the money left by his parents. 5,000 taels is not a small amount. But in order to get revenge, Sasuke gritted his teeth and put the more than 5,000 coins he carried on the table, and said, "Can I watch it now? The 3 books on the shelf over there, you can choose at will." Shen Ye put the money away. Now that 3 customers have been received, new comics can be drawn. But he didn't smoke, after all, he wasn't in a hurry. Sasuke came to the bookshelf, and after several comparisons, he finally chose Cut Crimson Eyes. Sasuke picked up the manga and went to his seat. Haruno Sakura saw that Sasuke was reading the manga and took out all his savings with tears in his eyes, saying, "Boss, I want a manga just like Sasuke's." Shen Ye said, "Every comic book in our store is an only one. You can only read it until he finishes it. Of course, if he agrees, you can read it with him." Watching manga with Sasuke? This is not bad. Haruno Sakura excitedly sat next to Sasuke, blushing slightly, and said, "Sasuke, that. To shut up." Sasuke didn't lift his head, and said coldly. Haruno Sakura could only shut up angrily and read the manga with Sasuke next to him. Naruto also wanted to get up. Shen Ye said lightly, "Any customer who has not purchased or has finished reading should not read other customers' cartoons, otherwise the store will be expelled according to the rules and will never be allowed to enter the store." "People don't mean that." Naruto twitched and said softly. "Roll." "Okay." Naruto came to a place in the manga store and stayed there. He was looking forward to what Sasuke and Haruno Sakura would get. Sasuke watched Cut Crimson Eyes. It tells the story of a killer organization called Night Raid fighting against the forces of the Dark Empire. The previous plot, Sasuke watched it very lightly. But when he saw the plot of the confrontation between Haitong and Chi-Tong, his mood fluctuated. On the one hand, there is the elder sister Chi-Tong, who recognizes that the empire has long been rotten and wants to eradicate the darkness. On the one hand is the younger sister Haitong, who loves her sister deeply, but can only rely on drugs to maintain her body and serve the empire. The 2 sisters stood on opposite sides and fought to the death for their own beliefs. Sasuke's eyes gradually became wet. This scene unconsciously reminded him of himself and Uchiha Itachi. One day, they will be so opposite. The elder brother who took care of him since childhood and made him yearn infinitely. It was also the older brother who killed all the clan members, killed his biological parents, and nearly wiped out the Uchiha clan. In the end, the sisters Haitong and Chi-Tong faced each other with blades. Akihito won. But Chi-Tong did not have the attitude of a winner, but showed the tenderness that her elder sister had towards her younger sister. Sasuke's eyes trembled, his nose sour. Finally, after watching Cut Crimson Eyes closing the manga, Sasuke closed his eyes and took a long time to calm down. At this time, a message appeared on Shen Ye's system interface. Customer Uchiha Sasuke has finished reading Cut Crimson Eye, get, flying 1,000 miles Mistima. Flying for thousands of miles Mistima, the Emperor of Wings, the user can fly freely, and the feathers can be used as a long-range attack to kill the enemy. As soon as he came up, he was drawn to an Emperor, as expected of the second male. Seeing Sasuke get the Emperor's flying miles Mistima, Shen Ye chuckled. A brilliance fell on Sasuke's hand. After a while, the brilliance dissipated. 2 silver discs were exposed, engraved with intricate and profound alchemy textures. Sasuke looked at the 2 silver discs and said in amazement, "This is Flying Taigu, flying thousands of miles Mistima." Shen Ye said, "I don't need to say more about the function, you should have seen it in the comics." What? Hearing this, even Sasuke, who has always maintained a ruthless personality, couldn't help but say in surprise, it turned out to be that flying emperor. Chapter 0005. This is one of the 48 unreproducible imperial tools that gathered the power of the entire empire 1,000 years ago, with top-level dangerous species plus countless rare treasures, made by alchemy, flying thousands of miles Mistima. Looking at the pair of silver discs engraved with mysterious patterns in his hands, Sasuke's eyes shone brightly. The user of this Taigu in the comics is Ran from the Hunter organization. Not only can it fly, but it can also launch feather attacks. It's not that there is no means of flying in this world, but there are too few, and it is very rare. Even in Konoha, he has not heard of any ninja that can fly. The importance of air dominance to ninja fighting is self-evident. Even Sasuke couldn't help but smile. It's really rewarding to read comics. It seems that I have the opportunity to take revenge on Uchiha Attack faster. Shen Ye said, "The rewards of this comic shop are genuine, you can go outside for an interview." Sasuke nodded and took Mistima Tegu outside. At this time, he felt that he and the Emperor had a blood connection, and he was like a driving arm for this Emperor. Move with your mind. 2 silver discs slowly floated up behind him. Suddenly, a halo emanated from the silver disc, and snow-white feathers grew sharply. Wow! 2 snow-white wings spread out suddenly, with a holy breath. Naruto and Haruno Sakura were both stunned for a while, and then showed undisguised envy. Immediately afterwards, Sasuke's wings fluttered behind him, and he suddenly rose into the sky, straight up into the sky. "Sasuke, he's so handsome!" Haruno Sakura shouted excitedly. "Sasuke, you can actually fly!" Naruto muttered to himself, then looked down at his sailor uniform. "I suddenly feel that this thing is not fragrant. Wow! Look, Mom, someone's flying. Really? Has a pair of wings like an angel. Is that the Sasuke of the Uchiha clan? How did he do that?" Seeing Sasuke flying with a pair of snow-white wings behind his back, people on the street were shocked. Although this is the world of ninjas, it is still surprising to see a person flying in the sky with wings. Sasuke gave a simple experiment and fell back to the front of the manga shop. However, the excitement in my heart still didn't go away. It was like a dream to have the ability to fly so easily. And importantly, I knew that this comic shop really has incredible capabilities. Be sure to visit this comic shop more in the future, and you will definitely get more rewards. Then, one day I can get revenge on Uchiha Itachi. But as long as the thought of Cut in Scarlet Eye, the scene where the 2 sisters, Chi Tong and Hei Tong, faced each other with blades, made him feel a pain in his heart. Could it be that Uchiha Itachi did all this with the same difficulties as Akatsuki? He hated Uchiha Itachi from the bottom of his heart and didn't want to believe it was true. But once this idea popped up, it was like a devil, no matter how hard it was to drive it away. "Thank you, boss." Sasuke didn't dare to think about it any longer, for fear that the hatred in his heart would shake, and he thanked Shen Ye. Shen Ye smiled, "If you think it's good, you can come and visit often." "Must." Sasuke nodded. "The first time I read comics, it cost 5,000 taels, the second time it cost 10,000 taels, and the third time it cost 20,000 taels. This price is still very stressful for him. But compared to the ability he got from the manga, it's not worth mentioning. You must visit often." With that in mind, Sasuke has made up his mind to find all the money left in the family and come back to read this manga tomorrow. Naruto stepped forward and put his hand on Sasuke's shoulder, proudly saying, "How is it? The manga shop I introduced to you is super amazing, isn't it?" Humph. Sasuke hummed, it was the default. At this time, Haruno Sakura also finally finished watching Cut. Crimson Eyes. System information appears. Customer Haruno Sakura has finished reading Cut. Crimson Eye, get, dangerous species, snow demon ape. Dangerous species, snow demon ape, a dangerous species living in the northern cold land, extremely lecherous, especially likes to attack the beautiful human women of Hungary, and is the most feared dangerous species for women in the empire. Seeing Snow Demon Ape's message, Shen Ye fell silent. What about this reward? Little Aunt Liang, ask yourself for more happiness. After reading the manga, Haruno Sakura came to Shen Ye and asked expectantly, Boss, what did I get? Is it bad? Sasuke has drawn Taigu, how can he not be too bad? Even if it's not an imperial tool, it can be a court tool. Anyway, as long as it is a topic that can create a closer relationship with Sasuke, it is worthwhile. Cough. Shen Ye coughed lightly and said, go outside, your reward is a bit big, and this comic shop can't fit it. Really? When Haruno Sakura heard the words, surprise flashed in his eyes. Too big to fit in the store? What is that? Could it be the piece that was originally the strongest emperor, the god of protecting the country, the supreme throne? Haruno Sakura excitedly ran outside the comic shop and said, Boss, I'm ready. Shen Ye wanted to say, no, you are not ready. However, it is better to let her see for herself according to the rules. At this moment, a Madara beam of light shrouded the sky. The beam of light was nearly 20 meters high and several meters thick, occupying the entire street. Both Sasuke and Naruto were a little surprised. So big? What is it? Haruno Sakura looked up at the beam of light, clenched his fists with both hands, and said excitedly, okay, it's so big. Light Hashirama, a giant figure with a height of more than 10 meters gradually solidified. Suddenly, an extremely loud ape cry came. The sound was like a tidal wave, shaking the surroundings. Nani? The smile on Haruno Sakura's face suddenly solidified. She had a bad premonition in her heart. I'm afraid, the gap between this reward and imagination is a bit big. The beam of light dissipated. A giant devil ape with snow-white hair, black skin, and one horn stood like a small snow mountain. Roar! The snow demon ape raised his head and howled, his fists hammered the mouth of Seong, like thunder. He lowered his head suddenly, and a scorching light flashed from his eyes. What? Seeing this, Haruno Sakura turned pale with fright and panicked, Boss, what kind of monster is this? Your reward, Snow Demon Ape. Shen Ye explained to her popular science, a dangerous species that is keen to attack the beautiful women of Great Hungarian. Once the target is identified, it will persevere in pursuit. Dangerous species? Why? Why did you come to me? It's such a terrifying thing. Haruno Sakura said with tears in his eyes, Boss, I don't want this reward, okay? Shen Ye shook his head, the reward has already been issued, so it has nothing to do with this shop. Now this snow demon ape belongs to you, how to solve it is your own problem. Asterisk. Chapter 0006. Roar! The snow demon ape let out a wild roar and walked forward. There was an undisguised evil look in his eyes. On the street, the melon-eating crowd who were still watching the excitement, saw the snow demon ape, and immediately became frightened and scattered. It's over, it's over. Hungarian is a big, beautiful girl, isn't it just me? Haruno Sakura closed his eyes in despair and said, what should I do? A flash of light flashed in her mind, and she suddenly thought of Sasuke. In this case, will Sasuke give himself a hero to save the beauty? If that's the case, it seems pretty good. Haruno Sakura closed his eyes, only to hear the approaching footsteps that made the street tremble. Haruno Sakura is scared and wants Sasuke to save him. Steps are getting closer and closer, arrive. Has arrived. Sasuke, come and save me. Then. The footsteps are getting further and further, farther and farther. Haruno Sakura opened his eyes in confusion and turned his head. I saw Snow Demon Ape staring at a pair of eyes with evil light, striding over his head, completely ignoring his own and heading straight for Naruto. Haruno Sakura suddenly felt 10,000 critical hits in his heart, and had an urge to spurt blood. WTF? Does that mean I'm not as good looking as the woman Naruto turned into? Said that my Hungarian is not as big as that woman? Does your BT orangutan have any aesthetic vision? With that in mind, Haruno Sakura looked down at himself and then at Naruto. Well, that one is indeed bigger than mine. But that's not the point. The point is, can't I even compare to a man turned woman? It turned out to be the most tragic in the world. It wasn't that he summoned a erotic orangutan, but that the erotic orangutan he summoned didn't look down on himself. Haruno Sakura's heart was broken. Suddenly, there is a thought of it is better to kill a piece of tofu in the world of life. Naruto's face paled as he watched the evil-eyed snow demon ape walking towards him. The snow demon ape showed a humanized evil expression, and a big black hand covered with white hair fell down overwhelmingly. Cut! Sasuke snorted lightly. Swabi's wings fluttered, and he rushed out quickly, hugging Naruto from behind. Then, it flew away from the hands of the snow demon ape. Even Shen Ye couldn't help but admire, this is true love. Haruno Sakura didn't save, but he went to save Naruto. Isn't this true love? Come on. I'm optimistic about your pair of CPS. Naruto, who was rescued by Sasuke, had his legs crossed and his arms wrapped around his neck, like an octopus entangling Sasuke, and moved, what is gay? I knew, you would definitely save me. That trademark should be my mother's lines. BD Naruto, get out of here. Haruno Sakura watched Sasuke fly through the sky with Naruto in his arms, and a large group of grass and mud horses whizzed past in his heart. Naruto clings to Sasuke. The bumpy body under the sailor suit rubbed against Sasuke, and even his breath could clearly fall on Sasuke's face. Although Sasuke knew that Naruto was transformed by Naruto, he couldn't hold back the appearance of a girl in front of him. Especially from the body, the indescribable feeling of being scrutinized by Philo and illuminated by the holy light. It made Sasuke feel a little warmer. Don't move. Or I'll throw you down. Sasuke shouted coldly with a grim expression on his face. Naruto hugged tighter, Yas hidi me. Haruno Sakura, below, has completely passed out. These days, the hardest thing is not robbing a man from a woman. But trademark also wants to grab a man with a man. Is there any reason? I am so difficult. Roar. Seeing that his target was snatched away, the snow demon ape roared angrily, strode forward and chased after him. Both sides ran away. The crowd on the street suddenly became a mess. Far away, a little boy wearing a dark green scarf heard the commotion of the crowd and said with a curious expression, "What is going on there, such a big commotion?" "No, I'm going to have a look." Ebisu pushed the small round sunglasses on the bridge of his nose. "Master Konohamaru, your first priority now is to go to the clone technique class. Don't worry about these trivial matters, someone will naturally take care of them." What a joke! Konohamaru vowed, as the younger brother of the boss of Naruto, how can I Konohamaru be the kind of person who turns a blind eye to the excitement? If there is something, you must go and see it. Saying that, Konohamaru slid over immediately. Ebisu patted his forehead and said helplessly, "Master Konohamaru has been spoiled by that guy Naruto. Konohamaru is third Hokage's grandson. If there is any accident, he, as a teacher, will definitely be punished severely, so he has no choice but to follow." Now, Yukino pursued Sasuke and Naruto, crossing the streets, causing villagers to riot. Suddenly, a soft drink sounded. Earth-style earth flow wall. As the ground shook, a thick stone wall rose from the ground, blocking the path of the snow demon ape. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto was pleasantly surprised when she saw the person using ninjutsu. Kakashi stood on top of the earth flow wall and said helplessly, "I knew that if there is any trouble, it will definitely have something to do with you." At the same time, Kakashi turned his eyes to the white wings behind Sasuke, his pupil shrunk. What is that? What special ninja gear, or some kind of ninjutsu? I have never heard of Konoha having such a thing. Now is not the time to think about that, though. Kakashi looked at the murderous snow demon ape in front of him, and said, "It's better to get rid of you first." Roar. Seeing the black masked man blocking his way to chase Naoko, the snow demon ape roared angrily, smashed the street with his big feet, and smashed his giant black fist towards Kakashi like a shooting star. Rakuri. A dazzling lightning flashed from Kakashi's palm. The thunder and lightning crackled sounded like 1,000 birds emerging from the forest. Kakashi jumped abruptly, avoiding Snow Demon Ape's fist, and at the same time stabbed Snow Demon Ape's forehead with his fiery palm. Puff! In an instant, the bones shattered and blood splattered. The palm of the thunder and lightning was like an indestructible thunder spear, which instantly pierced the skull of the snow demon ape. Snow demon ape's movements froze, the light in his pupils gradually dissipated, and finally became completely dim. With a sound of bang, the body of the snow demon ape fell backwards, and the huge body smashed the street into a shock. Sasuke and Naruto descended from the sky when Yukinoka was killed. Kakashi flicked the blood from his hand, looked at the two of them, and asked, "You two, what is going on here? Who is the summoned beast who created this monster?" Sasuke shook his head, "It's not a summoned beast, it's a dangerous species." Dangerous species? Kakashi was startled. It was the first time he had heard such a term. Sasuke explained to Kakashi, "Dangerous species is a terrifying creature from the Crimson Eyes manga, with monster-level destructive power. In the manga of Cut Eyes of Crimson," Kakashi said with a black line, "Are you trying to tell me that this monster came out of the comics?" Chapter 0007 Snapped. Naruto slapped her palm and said excitedly, "Kakashi-sensei, that's right. That's what happened." Kakashi's mouth twitched under the black mask and said, "You two, I'm not so confused yet. Are monsters from the comics? You two are very imaginative. This is real." Naruto took out the transforming needle, pointed at the Emperor of Wings behind Sasuke, and said, "Today, a comic shop opened, just read the comics in that comic shop, and you can get a reward from the comics. Mine is this transformation needle, which can be transformed into a moon sailor warrior. Sasuke's is a flying Tsukuyomi. This dangerous species belongs to Harano Sakura. This is..." Kakashi was startled and looked at Sasuke. He believed that even if Naruto could talk nonsense, Sasuke certainly wouldn't. Sasuke nodded, "That's true." Kakashi was even more confused. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't believe that such a bizarre thing could happen in the world. But seeing what Sasuke and Naruto said with such certainty, he couldn't help but be shaken. Also, Sasuke's flying prop doesn't really look like Konoha village or any other shinobi village stuff. Is what Naruto said true? But that's too bizarre, isn't it? At this time, a large number of Konoha shinobi people followed the movement and came here. Kakashi, the leader, Shiranui Genma, held a toothpick in his mouth, looked at the corpse of the snow demon ape that had been killed on the ground, looked at Kakashi again, and asked, "What happened here?" "Nothing." Kakashi said, "Please take the corpse of this monster back to the laboratory first, and let the people in the laboratory study it. I still have some things to deal with." Before determining the authenticity of a thing, he is used to maintaining a cautious attitude and cannot easily draw conclusions. He'd have to go see that comic shop in person and decide what to do with it. "It is good." Shiranui Genma nodded. "People use a storage scroll to seal the body of the snow demon ape in the scroll and take it back." Kakashi said to Naruto and Sasuke, "Now, take me to the manga shop you mentioned." Naruto smiled and said, "Kakashi-sensei, you won't be disappointed." Suddenly, Kakashi raised his brows and said, "Naruto, how long are you going to hug Sasuke like this woman?" "What?" Sasuke and Naruto looked down, only to realize that Naruto had just been holding Sasuke's arm. The two of them blushed, hurriedly let go at the same time, and turned their faces to the side. Naruto seals and changes back to Naruto. However, the two of them turned their heads in embarrassment when their eyes met. Naruto thought, "The feeling of women's clothing is actually not bad." Sasuke thought to himself, "How could I possibly react to a guy like Luduo? How can it be repaired?" Kakashi is led by Naruto, Sasuke to Arya manga store. Harano Sakura, who was sitting at the entrance of the comic shop, saw Naruto and showed his eyes that he wanted to tear him to pieces. Kakashi said, "Little Sakura, that dangerous species just now." Harano Sakura snorted softly, "I was rewarded for reading the comics, the ghost knows why it is this kind of thing to me." Kakashi's eyes narrowed. It seems that what the three of them said should be true. Kakashi was even more curious, walked into the comic shop, and said to Shen Ye, "Boss, I heard that your comics here are very different, so I came here to have a look. Everyone can only read one book at 5,000 taels for the first time. After that, the price is doubled. After reading it, 100% of them will get a random reward in the comic." Shen Ye chuckled, "What, do you want to see it? Get one." Kakashi smacked his tongue at such a high and snowballing price, but he took out 5,000 taels in order to explore the authenticity of the comic shop. Shen Ye pointed to the bookshelf. There are 3 comics on it, you can choose by yourself. Kakashi came to the bookshelf. Seeing this, Naruto and the 3 gathered around, guessing which book Kakashi would choose. Sasuke said lightly, Kakashi will definitely choose / Crimson Eye, after all, it is the highest level of strength among the 3 books. Haruno Sakura immediately said, Sasuke is right. Naruto showed a look of disdain, you 2 still don't know Kakashi-sensei, he will definitely choose that Sailor Moon, Part 1. Do you think everyone has the same virtue as you? Haruno Sakura sarcastically. Kakashi looked at it and finally picked up Sailor Moon, Part 1. Haruno Sakura's expression froze for a moment, and then he hummed, sure enough, you men are all virtuous. Seeing the 3 of Naruto's eyes, you are actually Kakashi-sensei, Kakashi coughed and said, well, I'm just curious. Naruto gave him a look, needless to say Kakashi-sensei, we all understand. Kakashi picked up the manga and sat down to read it. The 3 Naruto knew the rules and waited honestly beside them. Kakashi finished Sailor Moon, Part 1 at the fastest speed in less than an hour. At this time, a message appeared on Shen Ye's system interface. Customer Hitaki Kakashi has finished reading Sailor Moon Part 1 and obtained, Gentleman's Staff. Gentleman's Staff, a weapon that can dominate at close range, and can also rotate the Gentleman's Staff at high speed to form a protective barrier, dispelling or even rebounding the enemy's attack. A brilliant light fell in front of Kakashi. Suddenly, the brilliance dissipated. A long black staff with an elegant aristocratic atmosphere swayed across the table. This is the Gentleman's Staff of the Evening Dress Mask. Naruto, who had seen Sailor Moon, Part 1, immediately said, I've seen it in the comics, it's a very powerful weapon. Hearing this, Haruno Sakura felt even more sad. Even Kakashi-sensei had such good luck. Why am I the only one who got that kind of BT monster, haha. This is... Kakashi picked up the Gentleman's Staff with a solemn look in his eyes. He seemed to be casual just now, but in fact he had been closely observing it, but he still hadn't found out what principle this black stick came from. Kakashi asked Shen Ye with a gentleman's stick, boss, this gentleman's stick. It can open the protective barrier, resist or even rebound ninjutsu. Shen Ye said, although there is an upper limit, it is impossible to resist if the upper limit is exceeded, but it is generally good. Can I try it? It's already yours. Shen Ye smiled. Kakashi walked outside the manga shop with a gentleman's stick and said to Sasuke, Sasuke, try attacking me with your great fireball technique. Sasuke came outside and quickly sealed the great fireball technique with his hands. After finishing the printing, Sasuke sighed, his cheeks puffed out, and then he sprayed forward with all his strength. Fire-style great fireball technique. A dazzling and scorching giant fireball charged towards Kakashi with a raging heat wave. Kakashi held the gentleman's stick in front of him and turned it quickly. At this time, a hazy light appeared from the gentleman's staff, and a pale white barrier emerged. Chapter 0008. Boom! The great fireball with terrifying heat slammed into the barrier. However, the great fireball not only failed to break through the defense of the gentleman's staff, but was bounced back by an invisible force. Sasuke's expression changed, and he hurriedly ducked. Dangerously avoid the flame attack that bounces back. Amazing! Really bounced back the ninjutsu. Naruto and Haruno Sakura were both envious. Kakashi was also moved by the ability of the gentleman's stick, it's really not easy. Not only can defense, but also rebound ninjutsu. Although there is a defense upper limit, it is not something that ordinary ninjas can easily break through. If you suddenly take out this gentleman's stick in actual combat, you will definitely be able to catch the enemy by surprise. And by experimenting with the gentleman's stick, Kakashi finally confirmed it. This comic shop can really bring things from comics into reality. Kakashi said seriously to Shen Ye, boss, your comic shop really lives up to its reputation and can bring things from comics into reality. However, as you can probably understand, this matter is very important, and I have to report to Lord Third Hokage. I hope you understand. He knew very well the meaning of such a comic shop. If there are more comics in this comic shop, if there are more rewards from comics appear in reality, then, the entire Konoha village and even the entire ninja world will undergo earth-shaking changes as a result. This is not an exaggeration at all, but a necessity. Rewards such as the gentleman's staff in his hand, Sasuke's Flying Emperor, and Naruto's Transformation Needle, which can enhance his strength, if they appear on the battlefield on a large scale, are completely enough to subvert a war. Not to mention, he has seen many abilities that are stronger than these rewards in the comics. If it happens, it is impossible to imagine. For such an important matter, he must report to 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen as soon as possible. Shen Ye smiled lightly, as long as it doesn't interfere with my business, I don't mind you helping me with a free advertisement. Shen Ye didn't intend to hide from anyone when he opened the store. The visitors are all guests, and they all come to give him money and benefits, so there is no reason to refuse them. Kakashi reports to Sarutobi Hiruzen, which can increase the popularity of the manga shop and bring in more customers. Of course, if Konoha wants to target or restrict comic shops, Shen Ye will also let them know what it means to be unprovoked. Thank you. Kakashi nodded and used the body flicker technique to disappear as an afterimage. Seeing Kakashi leave, Sasuke also said, I'll go back first. For Tegumastime, he still needs more practice to become a perfect master. Moreover, controlling Taigu requires a strong mental force, which also requires constant running in to become familiar with it. Seeing Sasuke leave, Haruno Sakura leaves too. As he walked, he was still beating his feet crazily in his heart. Why everyone can get good things, but his own is the monster, it is so inhuman. Boss, I will come tomorrow. Naruto made up his mind to take out all the change that was hidden in the cracks in the floor and under the cupboard when he got home, and he would get a better reward than Sasuke tomorrow. After a few people left, Shen Ye picked up the teacup and looked at the system panel. Host, Shen Ye Comic, Cut. Crimson Eyes, Sailor Moon, Part 1, Dragon Babu Extraction, Receive 3 customers can extract a comic book, received, 5/3 people, can extract, one-time task, accumulate 50 customers, get a mysterious reward, received, 5/50 people mysterious reward, I'm looking forward to it. Shen Ye didn't know what the mysterious rewards were, but according to the system, they were mysterious items related to comic shops, and said to the system, System, draw a comic. Start extracting comics, Digimon, Part 1 Digimon, Part 1, Taiki Yagami and his friends went to summer camp together, but were magically transported to a digital world. There, they get a partner of a magical being called a Digimon. These children are considered the future of the digital world, and they will solve the crisis of this digital world together with the Digimon. Digimon is not bad. Shen Ye is relatively familiar with this comic. It contains Digimon with all kinds of strange attributes, and it can continue to evolve. This setting will definitely be very popular. Put the Digimon, Part 1 manga on your bookshelf. When he saw the meal, Shen Ye went to the kitchen to cook 2 dishes, and after eating, he continued to wait leisurely for customers to come. The residents of the Hyuga clan. Strength. Strength. Not just the arms, but every part of the body. You must ensure that every point of power you hits exactly 1 point. Hyuga Hayashi, dressed in a white kimono, urged her 7-year-old daughter, Hanabi, to practice the exercises. She didn't show any tolerance at all because Hanabi was still young, and she was almost outrageous. Hanabi was wearing a training suit, her long hair was tied up, and she kept throwing punches. In the white eyes, there is determination that he wants to continue to break through. Drop by drop of sweat flowed from the immature face and fell to the ground without any pause. Although Hyuga Hayashi is strict on the surface, he is still very sure of Hanabi in his heart. Because he was dissatisfied with Hinata's introverted and weak character since childhood, and thought that Hinata was not enough to carry the Hyuga clan's inheritance, Hyuga Hayashi put more effort into his sister Hanabi. Hanabi certainly did not let him down. At a young age, he has already cultivated Bun and gentle fist to a certain level. Squeak, the door opened and Hinata walked in. Hyuga Hayashi didn't turn his head, but with 360-degree white eyes, he already knew it was Hinata, and said coldly, I'm back. Hinata bowed her head slightly, yes. Don't think that you can relax after graduating from ninja school. This is just the beginning of the ninja journey. The difficulties you have to face are all in the back. Hyuga Hayashi snorted softly, if you can't train yourself strong enough, any mission may kill you. Although he looks stern, he is by no means less concerned about his children than any parent. It's just that he didn't want to see his 2 daughters tread the path of the Genin as weak. He hopes that the 2 daughters will really become stronger and become people who can control their own destiny. Back then, because he wasn't strong enough, He can only watch his younger brother Hyuga Hisashi choose to commit suicide in order to give an explanation to Cloud Shinobi Village, who had kidnapped Hinata first but bit the Hyuga clan first. Since then, he has hated himself immensely. As an elder brother, he has no ability to protect his younger brother. He doesn't want his two daughters to repeat his mistakes in the future. He had experienced, he knew, what a feeling of humiliation and despair it was. Understood. Hinata nodded. Hyuga Hayashi suddenly turned around, opened his posture, and said indifferently, Hinata, I haven't tested your physical skills for a long time. Come, let me see if you have improved now. Hinata was startled, then said, yes. Hinata followed suit. It's just that it's not from Hyuga Gentle Fist, but from 18 Dragon Subduing Palms. Hyuga Hayashi frowned. As a master of the wood industry, he naturally saw that Hinata did not use the starting style of Hyuga Gentle Fist, nor did it even belong to any Konoha style. It seems that I have learned something new, use it and let me see it. Hyuga Hayashi drank coldly, stepped on the ground, and slapped it with one palm. Hinata rolled his eyes, and the meridians around his eyes bulged, clearly capturing Hyuga Hayashi's movements. Don't use Qianlong. Chapter 0009. Don't use Qianlong. Hinata's white eyes brightened, and he slammed his palm across. This palm casts a deep, low voice accompanied by the wind, like a dragon returning to the abyss. What kind of gymnastics did she use? How dare you fight me hard? Hyuga Hayashi moved. This is just a small test, he will naturally not use his real strength. Otherwise, there is no need to compare with his strength. But even with such a move, Hinata's strength is absolutely unstoppable, and he doesn't even dare to attack head-on. Today, they are actually palm to hand? Where does the confidence come from? Moreover, this palm faintly revealed a kind of extraordinary. It seems simple, but there is a lot of mystery. Even he couldn't help but feel an unfathomable feeling. Don't wait for Hyuga Hayashi to think about it. The palms of Hinata and Hyuga Hayashi have already slammed into one place. Bang! The two palms have not yet met, but the fierce palm wind has collided. Immediately afterwards, two blue chakras impacted, and there was a muffled sound. Hyuga Hayashi's eyes narrowed. Hinata actually took this palm directly? Although Hinata's strength is still insufficient, he can clearly feel that Hinata is using his own strength to violently impact his strength. Although Hinata doesn't have as many chakras as him, this mysterious palm makes up for it in skill. This palm is him. If it is replaced by other peers, I am afraid that few people can take it. However, what shocked Hyuga Hayashi was still behind. Hinata uses the right foot as the support point, draws a circle with the left foot, and turns the body. Short black hair flowed along the body. The other hand suddenly softened its rigidity and hit Hyuga Hayashi in front of him. Chakra wrapped around her palm, vaguely transformed into the shape of a blue dragon head, opened her mouth fiercely, and bit her. It was amazing. This is... Hyuga Hayashi changes color. Not only did Hinata see a rise in power, but he actually mastered this level of chakra morphological change? This is the ability of a master ninja at the level of Chunin. How could Hinata do this? At this moment, he was even a little suspicious, whether this was still Hinata, or whether it was a physique master who used transformation technique to disguise it. At the same time, Hyuga Hayashi noticed the change in Hinata's palm, and even he was a little caught off guard. If we say that the palm just now is like a dragon returning to the abyss, it is unfathomable. Then this palm at this moment is like a dragon coming out of the abyss, with a domineering martial intent that rushes straight into the sky. How can the palm technique change like this? So ingenious. It's like giving yourself a good lesson. Now, Hyuga Hayashi no longer has any carelessness and completely opened his eyes. He has regarded Hinata as a truly qualified opponent to fight him, and he has taken out some strength to play against him seriously. Bang! Bang! The father and daughter fought fiercely with physical skills. The wind whistled, and the waves fluctuated. A wave of air cut off the surrounding weeds. See the dragon in the field. Dragon fights in the wild. Walking on frost and ice. Hinata's eyes gradually became firmer in the battle, and he used his 18 palms to subdue the dragon. From time to time, the chakra in his palm turned into a series of dragon shapes. Hyuga Hayashi, who was fighting against Hinata, kept burning sparks in his eyes. Inexplicably shocked inside, but also completely excited. It turns out that palm technique can still be practiced like this? It turns out that Ultimate's toughness can still contain such Ultimate's softness. Dagong and Daro is Dagong. This is the height of martial arts he never imagined. There is also the unpredictable dragon-like insanity contained in the palm technique. The moves are all mysterious and seem to have the power to subdue dragons. That is the realm that every martial arts master yearns for. Unexpectedly, today I actually saw this daughter who I thought was not a ninja. Hyuga Hayashi felt like his worldview was being slammed into madness. After dozens of tricks, Hyuga Hayashi closed, looked at Hinata, and said seriously, "Enough, no more testing." After a pause, Hyuga Hayashi said, "I take back what I said to you before, you are qualified enough to be a ninja of the Hyuga clan, I recognize you." Hinata's current strength has made a qualitative leap. And for the mystery of that mysterious palm technique, even he would be ashamed of himself. He was even inspired by this palm technique during his battle with Hinata. He believes that as long as he is given time, he will definitely make breakthroughs and become more advanced than before. For this transformation of his daughter, he chose a harsh and different praise from the past. Hinata's little face showed joy. "In my memory, my father had never recognized him like this." Hanabi, who was next to him, recovered from the shock just now, and said in surprise, "Sister is amazing." Although Hyuga Hayashi has recognized Hinata, his expression is still solemn. "Hinata, you are not our Hyuga clan's physique, where did you learn it?" Hinata's cheeks flushed. Shen Ye-kun opened a comic shop. Hearing the words Shen Ye-kun, Hyuga Hayashi's eyebrows couldn't help but twitch. Although most of his attention is devoted to Hanabi, that doesn't mean he doesn't pay attention to Hinata. He vaguely knew that Hinata seemed to have secret feelings for this young man named Shen Ye. "I didn't expect to go out to Shen Ye's place just now," Hinata said. "In the comic shop opened by Shen Ye-kun, you can go in and read one comic for 5,000 taels. You can only read one per day, and the price will double every time after that." Hearing this, Hyuga Hayashi grinned. 5,000 to read a comic book. And every time the price is doubled. Hinata said, "As long as you read the manga, you can get one thing from the manga as a reward. The palm technique I just used, called the 18 palms for subduing the dragon, was obtained from the 8 Dragons and 8 Parts comics." "What did you say? Can you still be good at reading comics?" The first sentence is said by Hyuga Hayashi, and the next sentence is said by Hanabi. Both father and daughter were shocked by Hinata's words. Hyuga Hayashi asked himself that he was well informed, but he had never heard of such a thing. However, he knew that Hinata couldn't lie to himself. After all, the comic shop opened by Shen Ye is located in Konoha village. If you want to know the truth and the fake, you will know it as soon as you go, there is no way to hide it. Moreover, he has never heard of such a new and innovative subtle palm technique in the ninja world. If it is from the comics, it seems to be more reasonable. Hinata went on to say, "There are many powerful palm techniques and boxing techniques in Dragon Babu, some of which are not even worse than the 18 palms of subduing the dragon. In the comics, this is called martial arts. For example, the Tian Shan folding plum hand, which can continuously integrate various martial arts and sublime endlessly, for example, the 6-pulse sword that can be launched from the air and kill people invisibly with a flick of a finger, for example, being able to use the way of the other side and give back to the other side of the body. There is also a bone-turning palm that can smash the bones and internal organs of the human body, causing people to die in extreme pain. They all belong to the category of martial arts. Can it be combined with other moves? Launch from the air, killing invisible. With the way of the other, but also the body. Can you directly attack the human body, smashing bones and internal organs into pieces? There are so many magical physical techniques." Hearing Hinata's words, Hyuga Hayashi felt as if he had discovered a new continent, but just thinking about it made him excited and said impatiently, "Hinata, take me to that manga store. I want to see this manga you mentioned." Hanabi hurriedly said, "Sister, I'm going too." "Of course." Hinata smiled. "I was worried that I didn't know where to go to promote Shen Ye. Now is the time." Chapter 0010. Hokage Office. Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen is smoking a pipe, reviewing documents. A shadow flashed, and Kakashi appeared in the office. "Oh, it's Kakashi." Sarutobi Hiruzen took down the pipe, looked at Kakashi with a smile, and said, "What, did that kid Naruto cause any trouble again?" "No, not Naruto, it's about a new manga shop." Kakashi said with a rare serious expression, I think this matter is very important and must be reported to you. Oh. Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand holding the pipe froze slightly. Kakashi's character is calm, but he rarely shows such an expression in his mind. Kakashi explained the whole thing to Sarutobi Hiruzen, and then handed the gentleman's staff to Sarutobi Hiruzen, saying, "This is the reward I got from that book of Sailor Moon, Part 1, The Gentleman in the Night Dress Mask. A stick, capable of defending and even rebounding ninjutsu. Is there such an incredible thing?" Sarutobi Hiruzen was smoking a pipe with a rare serious expression. He took the gentleman's staff to examine it carefully, and said, "This gentleman's staff has some kind of peculiar energy, completely different from any chakra scent. Known as the Doctor of Ninjutsu, he has mastered more than 1,000 kinds of ninjutsu, and has also dabbled in many fields. But in the face of this gentleman's rod, there is a sense of ignorance." Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to experiment. However, he found that he could not activate the ability of the gentleman's rod at all. "That's one of the magic things about this thing, only I can use it, no one else can use it if they get it," Kakashi said. This is of course the setting of the God-level comic shop system. Rewards customers receive from comic shops. If it is an item, only the owner can perform its due function. If it is a skill, the owner cannot impart it to others in any way. It means that no matter what rewards you get from the comics, the owner can only use it himself. Fun stuff. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed, then, "Kakashi, let's demonstrate." Yes. Kakashi gave Sarutobi Hiruzen a test of the ability of the gentleman's stick in person. Having seen the magical power of the gentleman's staff, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded and said, "It is indeed a good item. As for the comic shop you mentioned, do you know anything else?" Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally understands the risks of this manga shop. This comic shop can endow people with magical powers that are full of unknowns, and may even make an ordinary person become a strong man, with opportunities that countless people dream of. However, the danger is also obvious. Only this time, Haruno Sakura summoned a dangerous species with amazing destructive power. What if the next summon is a tailed beast-level monster? Or is it some terrifying ability that was obtained by some people who had bad intentions towards Konoha? The resulting disaster will be immeasurable. Most importantly, the existence of the comic store made him feel a crisis. It gives civilian ninjas the opportunity to change their destiny, become strong, and then attack the entire ruling class, which is not what he, Hokage, wants to see. There's only so much I've learned. Kakashi said, "Lord Hokage, do you need to investigate?" "Wait a minute." Sarutobi Hiruzen took out a wooden box and opened it, with a crystal ball inside, and said, "Observe it first and then make a decision. If what you say is true, then the owner of this comic shop is definitely not a simple person. We can't take offense at such a person, and we must first investigate carefully." "You said so." Kakashi nodded. Sarutobi Hiruzen's hands were sealed, and the crystal ball began to change. But after a long time, there was still only darkness, and nothing could be seen. How can that be? Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned. My own telescope technique has never failed, why can't I even view it in a comic store? Sarutobi Hiruzen began to strengthen the spiritual power used in the exploration, trying to break through this mysterious energy that prevented the exploration. At this time, Shen Ye, who was in the comic shop, flashed his eyes. Not only does he have invincible strength in the comic shop, but his perception is also omnipresent. Someone was investigating the situation in the comic store, and naturally he couldn't escape his perception. And he knew that the source of this probing power was Sarutobi Hiruzen in Hokage's office. It's just that Sarutobi Hiruzen thinks too much of himself. Not to mention him, this comic shop with the power of the system, even the existence of the prehistoric saint level, can't detect the slightest information. Hehe, do you want to see it? The corner of Shen Ye's mouth raised slightly. Manipulate a domineering mental energy and devour the past towards the source of this exploratory power. At the moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen in Hokage's office is manipulating the crystal ball to perform the telescope technique. Sweat dripped from his forehead constantly, and his power of exploration continued to increase, but it seemed to be blocked by a copper wall and an iron wall. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break through. Boom! At this moment, a strong spiritual force suddenly came back from the crystal ball. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt like a thunderstorm exploded in his brain, his mind was hit hard by this backlash, and he spat out a mouthful of blood, all of which was sprayed on the documents on his desk. Kakashi hurriedly supported Sarutobi Hiruzen and exclaimed, "Hokage-sama, you..." "No, it's fine." Sarutobi Hiruzen wiped bloodline from the corner of his mouth and said weakly, "I can't believe that the owner of this comic shop has such terrifying power. Not only did my telescope technique fail to break the shield, but he was discovered instead. It was just a warning to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't just be hurt by this." "What?" Kakashi was shocked. "How did he do it?" "With half a Konoha village, you can use the power of the spirit to counterattack such a strong person as Sarutobi Hiruzen? How terrifying is this?" "I don't know either. I just know that this person's mental strength has reached an incredible level, and his strength is definitely far above mine," Sarutobi Hiruzen said with fear in his eyes. Even in the face of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, he never felt such pressure. But it was just a contact with the manga shop owner who had never met before that could not even be called a confrontation, but he had such an idea in his heart. "This..." Kakashi heard the words, and his eyes shook violently. "Even third Hokage says that it is far inferior. I am afraid there is no one in today's ninja world, right? The manga shop owner, who looks like he should be 20 years old, is so scary." He's glad he didn't rashly tell the other Konoha shinobiers that he was right. Otherwise, if someone provokes such a terrible character, it is likely to bring a terrible disaster to Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen adjusted his breath for a while, his face looked a little better, and he used the telescope technique again, saying, "This time, I will observe the comic shop from a distance from the outside, but if this is the case, I should not anger the owner of that comic shop." Having learned the lesson just now, Sarutobi Hiruzen no longer has the idea of looking into the inside of the manga store, but just observes who enters the manga store from a distance, and gets something from the manga store. The picture outside the comic shop gradually emerged in the crystal ball. In the picture of the crystal ball, a beautiful woman wearing a special forbearance uniform woven with white cloth strips, carrying a bright flower basket, walked towards the comic shop. Chapter 0011. Congratulations to Mr. Shen Ye's new store opening. Hong Yui placed the flower baskets carefully selected from Yamanaka's flower shop on the counter, a pair of beautiful ruby-like eyes curved into a crescent shape, and smiled, "Help your business thrive." Shen Ye accepted the flower basket and said with a chuckle, "Sister Hong, you are a little late." Shen Ye's father once saved the life of Yuri Hong's father on the battlefield, and the two have since become close friends. Therefore, Shen Ye is also very familiar with Yuri Hong. After Shen Ye's parents passed away, Yuri Hong took care of him like a sister. As for Sarutobi Hiruzen's telescope technique to observe the comic shop from a distance, it doesn't matter anyway, Shen Ye doesn't bother to pay attention. Just got back from a mission. With a lazy support, Yuri Hong showed her beautiful figure proudly, and said, "By the way, how is your business? 5 people just came." Shen Ye said, "And your student, Hinata?" "Hinata." When Yuri Hong heard the words, she put her beautiful cheeks close to Shen Ye, so close that Shen Ye could even smell the fragrance of the woman's long hair, and joked, "That girl is very interested in you. She is good looking and has a good personality, and she is the daughter of the Hyuga family. When are you going to start?" Shen Ye said with a smile, "I think it would be great if she came with her teacher, a pure loli, a sexy Oni-san, and enjoyed the blessings of Kirin." "Little Shen Ye, you are not good." Yuri Hong's pretty face was blushing, and she pointed her finger at Shen Ye's forehead. "It's just that there is not only no harsh meaning in the tone, but a hint of love." Yuri Hong also noticed that her actions just now seemed to be too affectionate, and Yuan Yanhong didn't know how to speak for a while. Shen Ye broke the embarrassment and said with a smile, "How about it, do you want to watch this comic? You have too few comics here." Hong Yui followed Shen Ye's words, walked to the bookshelf, and looked at the 4 comic books on the bookshelf. "You can't take out all the good things at once." Shen Ye said, "I read 5,000 copies for the first time, and after reading 100%, I will get a random reward in the comics." "Your idea is quite good." Yuri Hong smiled, thinking that this was a way of Shen Ye's business, such as reading comics and giving gifts. The woman glanced at it and selected the book of Digimon, Part 1 that Shen Ye had just drawn, and sat down to look at it. Digimon? A virtual being that lives on a computer network? What does computer network mean? Wow, this Pico looks so cute. This zombie Tyrannosaurus looks a little scary. Hong Yui was quickly drawn to the story in Digimon, Part 1. The novel plot and setting inside made her feel eye-opening. Like a childlike child, he would even be nervous when Taiki Yagami and the others were in danger. Time passed without knowing it. After reading the manga, Yuhaka was still a little unfulfilled. At this time, system messages appear. Customer Yuhaka has finished reading Digimon, Part 1 and obtained, Floating Ball Beast. Floating Ball Beast, a juvenile seed-type Digimon with white hair on its body. It likes to dance in the air while looking for a place without enemies. When encountering an enemy, it will spit sticky bubbles and then take the opportunity to escape. After the system is transformed, the Digimon can evolve through the continuous supply of chakra by the owner. A ray of light fell on the table in front of Kurane Ui. When the light dissipated, it turned into a cute little beast with a snow-white body that didn't even have hands and feet. Hong Ui opened his mouth in shock. This is... You are lucky, this is a floating ball beast. Shen Ye said, this floating ball beast is a female Digimon. As long as you keep feeding it with chakra, it can evolve into a flower fairy beast and a rose beast in the future. What you just said, is it true? Hong Ui looked at Shen Ye dully. This is too amazing. She thought that the reward Shen Ye said was just to send a poster, a doll, or something. Unexpectedly, there will actually be a Digimon. This is a creature that exists in the comics. And she just read the manga, knowing that these Digimon have evolved to a certain extent, and their strength is quite terrifying. Ultimate Digimon such as demons and clown kings are not weaker than cage-level powerhouses, and may even be stronger. Apocalypseman, the big boss, even has the terrifying power to turn the entire digital world into darkness. If you can cultivate this floating ball beast well, it will definitely be a super thug. At this moment, Hong Ui looked at Shen Ye with shock full of eyes. It is definitely not just an ordinary person who can open such a comic shop. Unfathomable cannot be described as an exaggeration. But for her, Shen Ye is still Shen Ye, as long as she knows this is enough. After Hong Ui was surprised, he turned his eyes back to the floating ball beast. The fluffy white beast stared at a pair of cute black eyes, which made the woman have no resistance. Yuri Hong liked to pick up the floating ball beast and said, then you can go home with me, okay? The float beast made a childish voice similar to that of a girl, okay, okay. You still speak. Red Ui was even more surprised. I downloaded your human language when I was born. Floating ball animal road. Wow, it's really cute. Kurane Ui hugged the floating ball beast and couldn't put it down even more. Hong Yuri hugged the floating ball beast and smiled at Shen Ye. I got a very cute pet today, and I will come tomorrow. Welcome anytime. Shen Ye laughed. Then, little Shen Ye, elder sister is gone. Hong Ui tilted her head slightly, showed a sweet smile, and left with the float beast. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen saw Yuhaka come out through the crystal ball holding the float beast, and said solemnly, Yuhaka didn't have the white pet in her arms when she entered, it was obtained from the comics. Kakashi said, it should be. The owner of the comic shop said that he might get any reward from the comics, and the reward for little Sakura before was a dangerous species. What an incredible comic book store! Suddenly, Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression moved slightly and said, is that kid gone too? Red. Asuma, who was walking across the street, greeted Yuhahi with a smile. Hong Ui hugged the float beast and nodded politely. Although Asuma has pursued her many times, she has clearly rejected it. Usually meeting is just a casual polite 2 words. Asuma looked at the float beast in Yuhaka's arms and smiled, it's a very cute little animal. I got it in the comic store. I still have something to do. I'll go first. Ui hungdeo, and then left with a floating ball beast. Asuma originally planned to have a few more words with Ui Hiro, but he didn't expect the latter to leave without giving him a chance to speak. Comic shop. Asuma looked curiously at the Arya manga store in front and walked in. Boss, just now, was that you? Asuma walked in and recognized Shen Ye at first sight, her face trembling slightly. Yuri Hong rejected himself many times but got very close to Shen Ye, often shopping and eating with Shen Ye, which made him think that the reason why Yuri Hong rejected him was probably because of Shen Ye. When I saw Shen Ye, I immediately felt like I saw a rival in love. Chapter 0012. Shen Ye sat in his seat and said unhurriedly, this customer, do you need anything? Is Hong the pet you bought here just now? Asuma asked. Not to buy. Shen Ye said, everyone spends 5,000 taels for the first time to read a comic and get a random reward from the comic. The floating ball beast held by Sister Hong was the reward for watching Digimon, Part 1 just now. Although he didn't like Asuma very much, there was no reason not to do the door-to-door deal. Asuma couldn't believe Shen Ye's words, but still said, then I'll read one too. I'd like to see what game you're up to. Asuma thought so in his heart, put down the 5,000 taels, and picked up the Digimon, Part 1. Soon, Asuma was attracted by the manga plot of Digimon and watched with gusto. Although there are comics in the Hokage world, almost all of them are ninja themes, and the plots are too old-fashioned. It's not like this comic at all. The protagonist group is summoned to travel to the digital world. There are countless Digimon here, and they can evolve into various forms. They are novel and beautiful. Once they are seen, they will never be pulled out. At this moment, Konohamaru and Ebisu also walked in. Boss Naruto should be talking about this manga shop, right? Konohamaru looked around excitedly as soon as he entered the store. He originally wanted to have fun, but he gave up after looking for it for a long time and couldn't find it. Later, when I met Naruto, I heard Naruto talk about a manga shop where you can get rewards from manga by reading manga. Konohamaru immediately went straight to kill him. How can such an interesting place be without my Konohamaru? Master Konohamaru, you can't listen to Naruto's nonsense at all. He's a guy who has been full of lies since he was a child, and cleans up some unimportant things. Ebisu pushed on the small round sunglasses and said, how could there be such a comic shop? Only a fool would come here to read comics. Saying that, Ebisu looked around the manga store and saw Asuma who was reading manga, her eyes bulging out instantly. What the hell? How is Sarutobi Asuma here? Will he not hear what I just said? He soon discovered that he was thinking too much. Asuma was so absorbed in the manga that he didn't hear what he was saying. What comic? So interesting. Ebisu was stunned. It's unimaginable that Asuma, a greasy uncle who drinks and smokes in addition to smoking, can be so fascinated by comics. Uncle, you are here too. Konohamaru walked over and said. Asuma is the second son of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Konohamaru is the son of the eldest son of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Asuma came back to his senses and smiled, it's Konohamaru, I have nothing to do to read the manga. How is it, does it look good? Quite interesting. Haha, yes, I want to read one too. Konohamaru finally chose cut. Crimson Eye, after paying the money, take it and sit and watch. Ebisu didn't want to read manga originally, after all, 5,000 taels is a lot for him, a special Jainin who only earns a dead salary. However, seeing that Asuma and Konohamaru were so engaged, and laughing like a fat man weighing more than 200 pounds from time to time, he couldn't help but pay 5,000 taels in the end. After picking and choosing, Ebisu chose Sailor Moon, Part 1 and ran to the side with a wretched smile. After more than an hour, Asuma finally finished it. System information appears. Customer Asuma has finished reading Digimon, Part 1, and got the unevolvable stool beast. The unevolvable stool beast has a golden stool shape, a disgustingly mature Digimon that suddenly upgraded. Originally, it was born due to the sudden upgrade caused by the accumulation of garbage data thrown into the recycle bin. Good at using various poop attacks. This Digimon cannot evolve and will remain in that form forever. Seeing Asuma's reward, Shen Ye couldn't help smacking his tongue. This luck! Can a poop beast that can't evolve? Asuma put the manga back on the shelf and asked, Boss, where's my reward? Don't worry. Shen Ye said, you will like your reward very much. A dazzling light fell next to Asuma. Asuma's expression changed. He was completely unaware of how this light appeared. The light fades away, a yellow-orange fecal beast with a height of 1 meter appeared, with a big mouth that almost split its entire body, and said excitedly, is it you who summoned me here? Are you my master? What? Asuma was taken aback by the shit beast. The poop beast showed a mean smile and said, I am the poop beast who likes poop the most. Boss, what's the situation? Asuma looked at Shen Ye and said sluggishly, why is there a shit beast here? Didn't you say you want a reward? Shen Ye pursed his lips, that's right. I don't want a shit beast. Asuma felt the deep malice of this store. God trademark reward is a shit beast? Why is Yuhi Hong's one a floating ball beast and mine is a stool beast? I see you are embarrassing me. Our store rewards are completely random, and we will not be responsible for them once they are issued. Shen Ye shrugged and said, since you drew this shit beast, it only means that you have a destiny with it. Asuma can't wait to spit out a mouthful of old blood. What is fate? Who wants to have a fate with the shit beast? And Konohamaru, who was reading the comics, saw that Asuma actually got a shit beast, and said excitedly, it turned out to be true. You can actually get rewards for reading the comics. Ebisu was also taken aback. Soon, his eyes were shining and he returned to the book Sailor Moon, Part 1 in his hands. If I can get Ami Mizuno, Rei Hoano, or something. That is directly the feeling of the pinnacle of life. Ebisu wiped saliva from the corner of his mouth, and howled wildly in his heart. Sailor Moons, here I come. Asuma was so angry that he had nothing to say, and could only say, what kind of reward is this, can't I do it if I don't want it? Saying that, turn around and leave. Hearing that he was about to be abandoned, the fecal beast hugged Asuma, crying and crying, Master, don't leave me. I'm not your master, let go. No, I won't. I outnumber you in percent. Master, don't leave me, I can give you my most precious thing. Hearing this, Asuma suddenly hesitated, and asked with some anticipation, what good thing? Although it is a shit beast, it also emerged from the Digimon world after all. Most likely there is some treasure from the Digimon world. If that's the case, it's not too bad. The stool beast took out a pink poop from behind and gave it to Asuma flatteringly, only you, my master, are worthy of this pink poop that I have treasured for many years. It tastes so sweet. Asuma, who was still looking forward to it, suddenly heard the sound of glass breaking in his heart. Is this your most precious thing? I trademark. ITMD. Bang. Asuma put one foot on the shit beast and walked away angrily. The stool beast got up, followed closely behind, and shouted, Master, don't go. I still have a lot of poop. Chapter 0013. You two are indeed destined. Seeing one person go away, Shen Ye shook his head. After a while, Ebisu read the manga first, and excitedly ran to Shen Ye and asked, Boss, what is my reward? Sailor Moon will do whatever you want. It's really not possible, it's okay to be a beautiful girl middle school student. Oh ho ho, then you can officially break up with the right hand. At this time, the system flashes the information. Customer Ebisu has finished reading Sailor Moon and obtained, Queen Belial Original Fat Times. Queen Belial's Original Fat Time, the original fat time of Queen Belial, Queen of Darkness, the system assures you that it has never been washed. Shen Ye was taken aback. Is it possible that the reward is also born from the heart? Wretched people are wretched even with rewards? Asuma is like this, and so is Ebisu. Looking at Ebisu, who was already showing an impatient look, Shen Ye said, it's being distributed, but I don't know if the sign is to your taste. A ray of light fell into Ebisu's hands. Ebisu's eyes gradually widened behind the small round sunglasses, this kind of feel, this kind of taste. The light fades away, revealing a black lace fat time. Boss. Looking at the fat time in his hand, Ebisu almost fainted from crying, and said, why did I get a fat time? My Sailor Moon. Shen Ye said seriously, this is not an ordinary fat time. What's the meaning? This is the fat time Queen Beryl wore, and it's unwashed. Unacceptable. Hearing this, Ebisu became even more angrier, how could a serious person like me accept this kind of thing? Saying that, Ebisu put the fat time into Kabuto. Shen Ye, _ you are not fake leather, Li Shichen's leather. The words are so righteous, but the body is so honest. Cough. Ebisu also felt a little bit revealing his nature, coughed, and whispered next to Shen Ye, boss, next time there will be any shoujo manga or adult manga, tell me, I'll check it for you to see if you can. Bestsellers. Shen Ye showed an expression like this, and said, I understand. Ebisu raised his eyebrows and said meanly, boss, if you look like this, your business will be hot. At this time, Konohamaru will also cut. Scarlet Eyes finished. Customer Konohamaru has finished reading cut. Crimson Eye, get, Warcraft Transformation 100 Armed Giant. Warcraft Transformation 100 Armed Giant, a biological dog type tegu, usually in the form of an ordinary puppy, can grow like a giant in battle, and has quite a sturdy fighting power. In addition, the biological tegu has the characteristic of being able to regenerate continuously as long as the core is not broken. The secret skill is Rampage, which will greatly increase the ability, but can't act for the next few months. A ray of light came to Konohamaru. Konohamaru jumped up and stomped with excitement, wow, what is it? What is it? The light fades away, a white puppy was exposed, with a small tongue, a little naive. Konohamaru suddenly forced, "Boss, is this variation of Warcraft 100 armed giant, do you remember that?" Shen Ye laughed. "Is that the biological emperor tool? It's called Shinobi, right?" Konohamaru remembered at this moment, a burning glow in his eyes. In the comics, this is a very powerful Tikoku, as long as the core is not broken, it can continue to be reborn. To output and output, to have meat and meat. Especially after using the secret skill to be violent, it is even more powerful. With such a piece of Taigu as a bodyguard, he will not be afraid to walk sideways in the village in the future. Boss Saijo. Comic shop competition. At this moment, the white puppy Little Bai is wagging his tail. Konohamaru hugged Shinobi happily and said, "I will call you Shinobi by your name in the comics, okay?" Wang. Wang. Shinobi called twice and happily agreed. "Ha ha ha, Shinobi, you will be my Konohamaru's partner from now on." Konohamaru raised BB and laughed. "Boss, thank you so much." Konohamaru hugged Shinobi and said happily, "The comics you have here are amazing. Tomorrow I will bring Meng Wang and Yuden together." Konohamaru, who got BB, was thrilled. If it wasn't for the second manga that could only be read tomorrow, he would definitely read 3 or 5 of it now. As the only seed of the third generation of the Sarutobi clan, and the grandson of the current Hokage, he doesn't need to worry about money at all. Anyone who comes is welcome. Shen Ye chuckled lightly. "Goodbye boss." After Konohamaru finished speaking, he hugged Shinobi and left happily. Before leaving, Ebisu still whispered, "Boss, don't forget my shoujo manga." Saying that, Ebisu also walked out with a wretched expression. "Master Konohamaru, your teaching today is here first. I'll go home later if I have something to do." "You can go home by yourself." Ebisu found a reason to get away as soon as he walked out the door. Konohamaru wondered, "Why are you going? By the way, I don't know what the reward you got." "It's nothing." Ebisu smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm leaving first." Saying that, Ebisu left with high spirits. Touching his trousers, Kabuto made a creepy hee-hee laughter from time to time. Konohamaru hugged Shinobi, looked at Ebisu's back, frowned and muttered, "The last time Ebisu made this kind of laughter, the next day, he was weak for 3 days, and he couldn't walk steadily. This time I laughed even more wretched than last time. What the hell is going on? Forget it, leave him alone." "Hee hee, Shinobi, I'll take you to Konoha village for a walk." Konohamaru and Ebisu left. Shen Ye looked at the system panel. Host, Shen Ye comic, cut. Crimson Eyes, Sailor Moon Part 1, Dragon Babu, Digimon Part 1 Extraction. If you receive 3 customers, you can extract a comic book. Received, 6/3 people, you can extract, 2 times task, accumulate 50 customers, get a mysterious reward. Received, 9/50 people. Seeing that it was enough to extract 2 comics, Shen Ye said to the system, "System, extract 2 comics. Start extracting." Extract the comic, Velvet Pattern. Zintian, who was originally just an ordinary office worker, inexplicably owed a debt of up to 80 million, and then was forced to become the body condolence of the rich family's daughter, Hananeko. An indescribable story begins. Since this cartoon is too wasteful of nutrition, please prepare milk, eggs and other items to supplement nutrition at any time before reading. Start extracting. Extracted from the comics, One Piece, East Blue. One Piece, East Blue Arc, Monkey D. Luffy who ate rubber fruit set off from East Blue because he made a promise with the pirate Redhead Shanks, in order to find the rumored One Piece Gol.D. The big secret treasure left by Roger, One Piece, is heading towards the Grand Line, gaining many companions along the way. Chapter 0014. One Piece, East Blue, this can be Velvet Pattern. I can recommend it to him when Ebisu comes next time. Shen Ye thinks that 2 lottery draws are not bad. Pirates and Hokage are both comics that were popular all over the world in their previous lives, and together with Shinigami, they are called the 3 major migrant manga. With Shinigami and Hokage ending one after another, only One Piece remains. Although this is only the East Blue chapter of One Piece, there are still many magical devil fruits appearing, as well as top powerhouses such as Garp, Hawkeye and Red Hair. I don't know who can get anything good out of it. As for Velvet Pattern, it is a cartoon not suitable for children. Looking at it in the dead of night, you can cultivate your sentiments. Shen Ye put 2 comics on the shelf. There are now 6 comics in the comic shop. Cut. Crimson Eyes, Dragon Babu, Sailor Moon, Part 1, Digimon, Part 1, One Piece, East Blue, Velvet Pattern. Shen Ye just sat back in his seat. Hyuga Hayashi, Hinata, and Hanabi father and daughter walk into the manga store. Shen Ye-kun. Seeing Shen Ye, Hinata blushed softly. Hanabi imitated her sister's voice and joked, Shen Ye-kun. She had long known that Hinata liked Shen Ye, and she often joked about it with her sister. Hearing Hanabi's words, Hinata blushed even more. Cough. Hyuga Hayashi couldn't help coughing. You two are also princesses of the Hyuga family, can you be a little more reserved? Dad, I'm still here. Shen Ye smiled and said, do you want to read comics? Hinata blushed and said to Shen Ye, Father and Hanabi heard about your comics, and they all want to come and see. Bringing my father to see Shen Ye-kun, does that count as meeting my parents? So nervous, so nervous. Sure. Shen Ye pointed to the bookshelf and said, the comics are all on the bookshelf over there, so feel free to read whatever you want. It's money. After paying 10,000 taels, Hyuga Hayashi couldn't wait to walk to the bookshelf, and without hesitation, he picked up the Dragon Babu. He originally came for martial arts. Hanabi hesitated. She would love to see Sailor Moon, Part 1. However, I am also interested in the theme of One Piece, East Blue, which is about going to sea as a pirate. After much deliberation, I finally chose to watch Pirates. She had never seen the sea before and wanted to see what interesting stories there would be. Practice the inner strength by moving the power, stepping on the 64 hexagrams as a jotyen, and the inner breath will naturally form a jotyen. Every time you walk, your inner strength will be improved by 1 point. This Lingbo microstep is also too delicate. The Biming divine art has been cultivated to the highest level. All acupoints in the body can absorb internal energy and turn it into Biming true qi. This true qi has both yin and yang. Isn't the happy faction 2BT? Why is it all this terrifying martial arts? I said that this Duan Zhengchun has several lovers, why does one appear in a while? Hyuga Hayashi is like a martial arts idiot, holding the Dragon Babu and watching it, he is fascinated, and he keeps murmuring. Sometimes he can't help but applaud when the plot is high. Compared to Hyuga Hayashi, Hanabi is much quieter, but sometimes laughs or exclaims. Luffy is so cute. This buggy is also very interesting. Wow, this eagle-eyed man is so powerful that he can cut a big ship with one knife. The villagers came out to help Nami, and this part is very touching. Although the plot of One Piece revolves around Luffy's desire to find One Piece, the great secret treasure of One Piece, the style of painting and the plot are both funny. Various incredible devil fruit settings also make people fully sigh the author's imagination. But the important reason why this manga can firmly grasp the hearts of the people is the sincere emotion contained in the manga. For the dream, for the friend, go forward bravely at all costs. No matter how difficult, no matter how desperate, there are still people who are willing to stand up. Seeing Hanabi several times, her eyes were wet. Even she couldn't help wanting to be Luffy, Zoro, and their partners and go on an adventure to the sea together. And Hinata, who didn't read the comics, sat next to him, turning his eyes to Shen Ye from time to time, looking a little cramped. Have a cup of black tea. Shen Ye greeted Hinata Road. What? Hinata was surprised, her face flushed but she sat down sweetly. Hinata picked up the teacup and said, Shen Ye-kun seems to like drinking black tea. Shen Ye chuckled, I like the taste of black tea very much. Oh. 2 red clouds appeared on Hinata's cheeks, cups in both hands, and secretly wrote down the incident. The other side, Konohamaru hugged Zyobi, separated from Ebisu and walked home, just met Inazukaya who was walking from the opposite side. Inazukaya put Akamaru on his head and walks with his hands in kabuto. When Akamaru saw Zyobi, he smelled a dangerous aura from the latter, and cried out in fear. Wong! Wong! Akamaru shouted. However, Zyobi glanced at Akamaru with contempt in his eyes, and then narrowed his eyes again, ignoring it. Seeing that the other party didn't dare to speak back, the fear in Akamaru's heart disappeared instantly. He jumped directly from Inyazukaya's head and stopped Konohamaru's way to bark. Hey! Seeing that Zyobi in Konohamaru's arms didn't even pay back his mouth, Inyazukaya raised his mouth and said proudly, Hey, Konohamaru, is your dog too brave? You don't even dare to pay back your mouth. The Inyazuka clan is a family that specializes in raising ninja dogs in Konoha village, and even the fighting style is modeled after bulldogs. Each ninja of the Inyazuka clan grows to a certain age, and will get a ninja dog of excellent blood. From then on, they will live inseparably with this ninja dog, cultivate friendship and tacit understanding like friends and brothers, and become life-threatening partners on the battlefield. Therefore, the pride of the Inyazuka clan is their ninja dog. Seeing that Konohamaru's dog was completely compared by his own Akamaru, Inyazuka was naturally very happy. Hearing this, Konohamaru snorted softly, "It's Zyubi who doesn't care about Akamaru, and has no interest in your weak puppy." He is very aware of Zyubi's strength. If it really broke out, ordinary Jainin would be no match. Naturally, he has no interest in a newly born puppy like Akamaru. "What did you say?" Inyazuka got angry and wanted to teach Konohamaru a lesson. The people of the Inyazuka clan are all hot-tempered types. He didn't care if Konohamaru was some kind of Hokage's grandson. Wong! Wong! Akamaru also screamed more and more fiercely. Konohamaru hummed, "Zyubi, let them see your strength." Bibi jumped out of Konohamaru's arms, who had been unable to bear it. The size suddenly enlarged and turned into a dog-shaped monster with a height of 4 or 5 meters. The dog-shaped monster stood, grinning, his hair standing on end, and his scarlet pupils overlooked Inyazuka and Akamaru, exuding a frightening bloody aura. Roar! The dog-shaped monster opened its mouth and roared loudly. Akamaru, who had been screaming happily just now, instantly shut up, with a cute face, crouching on the ground and wagging his tail. This is... Inyazuka was also shocked by the sudden transformation of Zyubi, and his face showed an undisguised look of fear. Although the Inyazuka clan specializes in cultivating ninja dogs, they have never seen a dog that can suddenly transform into a monster like this. Konohamaru folded his arms and smiled smugly, "How is it? Do you still think Zyubi is timid?" "Humph." Inyazuka quickly put away the fear on his expression, pretended to be calm and hummed, "Where did you get this ninja dog?" Konohamaru said dissatisfiedly, "Xiaobai is not a ninja dog, but a biological taigu. The transformation of Warcraft, giant with 100 arms." Chapter 0015. Imperial. Hearing this, Inyazuka asked in surprise, "What is that?" About 1,000 years ago, the founding emperor of the empire used unimaginable financial resources and power to convene the world's top craftsmen. Using top-level dangerous species as raw materials, plus a large number of rare metals and lost secret techniques, 48 weapons that cannot be copied are developed, and they are called taigu. Each taigu has a different magical ability. Bibi is one of them. And it's still pretty awesome. Seeing that Inyazuka was still confused, Konohamaru shook his hands very stinky, "Forget it, you don't understand either. If you don't tell me, how do I understand? I got it from the Arya manga store. Just read the manga there and get a random reward from the manga. Just read the manga for yourself. There is such a magical comic shop." Inyazuka was inexplicably shocked. "I can get such a powerful ninja dog, I want to go too." "I said it all, it's not a ninja dog, it's an emperor." The taigu that he was so lucky to get was actually called a ninja dog one after another. Konohamaru commanded Zyubi with anger, "Zyubi! Let me plant both of them in the ground." Wong! The giant Zyubi walked towards Inyazuka and Akamaru with a ferocious expression. Inyazuka put Akamaru on his head, made a seal with his hands, and shouted, "Don't underestimate us too. Ninja! Orc clone, bang!" A puff of white smoke rose, and Akamaru also turned into Inyazuka. The two Inyazuka used ninjutsu at the same time, Yatong, ah! However, without waiting for Inyazuka Tooth to perform ninjutsu, Zyubi had already grabbed two Inyazuka Tooth and planted them into the soil at once. Bibi returns to her original form and jumps into Konohamaru's arms. A tactical step back came, and he narrowed his eyes lazily. "Little Bronze, do you know what a king is now?" Konohamaru smiled and said to Inyazuka, "Just think about it here, whether it is a ninja dog or a taigu." Saying that, Konohamaru turned and left. Inyazuka's forehead bulged with blue veins, and said to Akamaru, "This kid is too arrogant." Wong! Speaking of which, there are comic shops where you can get rewards for reading comics? Is it true? Wong! Akamaru, can you only wook? Wong! Inyazuka Tooth, well, I was wrong. I'm the one who asked this question. Arya Manga Store. Oh, I didn't expect it to end like this. Hyuga Hayashi couldn't help letting out a long sigh after watching Dragon Babu. Xiao Feng jumped off a cliff to his death, and Azi went with him. Murongfu, a descendant of the royal family of the Yan Kingdom, who once shared the reputation of North Jiaofeng, South Murong with Xiaofeng, has also become an out-and-out lunatic. Such a soul-stirring story of rivers and lakes ends with such an almost tragic ending. I can only sigh that life is unpredictable and things are impermanent. After reading the manga, Hyuga Hayashi's heart feels like he has experienced the vicissitudes of life. At the same time, he was also impressed by the numerous but mysterious martial arts in the comics, and he enjoyed watching it endlessly. At this time, a message appeared on Shen Ye's system panel. Customer Hyuga Hayashi has finished reading Dragon Babu and obtained Yin Yang He-san. Yin Yang and Hesan, a kind of Kimen poison in martial arts that makes young girls feel terrified and makes the legs of masters go weak. If you don't take XXOO within 2 hours after taking it, you will die on the spot. Unreasonable. Shen Ye fell silent as he watched this message. Forget Asuma and Ebisu, I can't think of you, Hyuga Hayashi, who has big eyebrows and big eyes is also this kind of reward. At this moment, a dazzling light landed in Hyuga Hayashi's hands. Hyuga Hayashi was full of excitement and anxiety. As the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, the most powerful clan in Konoha today, he has not had such a state of mind for a long time. However, this time he couldn't bear it. He really wanted to know what kind of peerless martial arts he would get. 6-pulse sword? Lingbo microstep? Shifting stars? Beaming magic? Even one of Shaolin's 72 stunts is fine. However, when the light dissipated, only a white porcelain bottle was revealed. There is a piece of red paper on it, Yin and Yang and He-san. Old, boss. Hyuga Hayashi, who was still hot just now, instantly felt cold all over and looked at Shen Ye with a confused expression. Shen Ye nodded. After being certified by Shen Ye, Hyuga Hayashi's face instantly turned ashen. There is no peerless martial arts. But, what's the point of giving me this thing? Is my luck too bad? Seeing Hinata's eyes turn around, Hyuga Hayashi immediately released the yin and yang harmony. If people know this, I don't want this old face anymore. After a while, Hanabi also finished watching One Piece, East Blue, and said with a small face, Shen Ye-kun, why did it disappear just after going upside down? Little Loli's heart is not to mention how uncomfortable. It was hard to see Luffy's group escape from Smoka's hands and rush up the upside-down mountain. When she was about to see what the Grand Line looked like, she suddenly found out that it was gone. Are you angry? The plot from the beginning to the present is close at hand but cannot be seen, who can stand it? Shen Ye said, the East Blue chapter is here, and the rest will have to wait for the new comics to come out. Please update. I want to send the blade. Hanabi said angrily, and suddenly asked Shen Ye-kun, who was the one who rescued Luffy in a black robe in Logue Town. I feel like he is so strong, why did he save Luffy? Want to know? Shen Ye laughed. Hanabi nodded quickly, then shook his head again, forget it, don't tell me, if there is a spoiler, there is no sense of expectation. At this time, Shen Ye's system interface was refreshed again. Customer Hyuga Hanabi has finished reading One Piece, East Blue and got Garp's Armament Haki. Garp's Armament Haki. Haki is the inherent potential ability of humans in the pirate world, which is divided into 3 types, Observation Haki, Armament Haki, and Conqueror's Haki. Armament Haki is the ability to attack and defend, and attaching it to the body will increase its own attack and defense. Advanced Armament Haki can also teleport into the target and destroy it from the inside. This Armament Haki was cultivated by marine hero Garp for decades. Even if it is used by ordinary people, it can display the terrifying power of tearing mountains and earth. Hanabi is a great reward. Seeing the system message, even Shen Ye was amazed. Armament Haki can already be said to be the standard of the strong in the pirate world. Only with a strong enough Armament Haki can he firmly occupy a place among the strong. Garp is honored as a marine hero, although he hasn't really been shot in the comics so far. But just from the side-by-side description, it is enough to prove that Garp is an existence that relies on physical skills and Haki to keep pace with the 4 emperors. 40 years ago, Garp and Roger teamed up to end the era of the New World's overlord Rox. After that, he pushed Roger into a corner several times, and hunted down countless terrifying pirates in his life. Such a person, how strong should his Armament Haki be? It is definitely the level of the top few in the pirate world. Moreover, this armament haki will continue to strengthen with the tempering of the owner. This is definitely a luxurious reward. Unexpectedly, this little girl Hanabi is actually a European emperor. Chapter 0016. Suddenly, a dazzling brilliance descended from the void. The brilliance fell on Hanabi's petite body and turned into a domineering force, rushing into the body. This force was so powerful that it almost burst little Loli's body. After all, it is the top armament haki that Garp has been tempering for decades. How can it not be strong? Hyuga Hayashi and Hinata looked at Hanabi with bright eyes, nervous and expectant. Although they don't know what reward Hanabi got. However, from the perspective of this battle, I am afraid it will not be simple. The brilliance faded, and armament haki completely entered Hanabi's body. Hanabi suddenly opened his white eyes. A long black hair tied by a white ribbon spreads out, spreading freely without wind, like a black flame. This is... Hyuga Hayashi opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. He could clearly feel the domineering power coming from Hanabi. Like a god of war who has walked out of the Shura field countless times. Even he was full of oppression in the face of this terrifying power. Hyuga Hayashi couldn't help but be shocked. What ability did Hanabi get? It became so much stronger all of a sudden? What a powerful force! Hanabi completely absorbed this power in his body. As soon as he clenched his fist, an invisible force gushed out from all over his body like a river. It seems that a single gesture can cause the sky to collapse. Little Loli knew that this was not an illusion, but that she really had such terrifying power at the moment. Hanabi looked at Shen Ye and said excitedly, "Shen Ye-kun, this is... armament haki." Shen Ye put his hands behind his back and smiled lightly. What is armament haki? Hanabi was stunned. Armament haki? I don't seem to have seen this word in the comics. Forget that the concept of haki didn't exist in the East Blue arc, it wasn't brought up until the New World arc. Shen Ye explained to Hanabi, haki is the inherent potential ability of human beings in the pirate world, which is divided into three types: Observation Haki, Armament Haki, and Conqueror's Haki. Armament Haki is the ability to attack and defend. Attaching it to your body can increase your own attack and defense. Armament Haki has cultivated to an advanced level, and can also attack targets from the air, and even destroy them from within. The armament haki you got is from Garp. As a hero of Marine's era, his armament haki is arguably one of the top ranks in the world. But now it's yours. The more Hanabi listened, the happier he asked, how powerful is that? Shen Ye thought for a while, and said, in terms of power, it shouldn't be difficult to break a mountain with one punch, right? If you use it to strengthen your body, ordinary ninjutsu can't hurt you at all. Although it is said that Garp's combat power is not only because of armament haki, but also has an inseparable relationship with his own tyrannical physique, combat skills, combat experience, and many other aspects. But even armament haki alone is certainly not weak. Otherwise Garp doesn't deserve to be called a symbol of Marine's era. The old man with the dog's head hat turned out to be so strong. Thinking of the old Marine who was cut down by Monka's axe in the East Blue chapter, Hanabi said in amazement, I can't tell at all. Shen Ye explained it forcefully in one sentence, he is Luffy's grandfather. Hearing this, Hanabi nodded suddenly, then I understand. It turned out to be Luffy's grandfather, who has the same unregulated genes as Luffy, so it's not surprising. Hyuga Hayashi next to him was taken aback. Can one punch blow up a mountain? Ordinary ninjutsu can't break any defense? Hanabi has become so strong? If this is the case, Hanabi is probably already a cage-level powerhouse, right? 7-year-old cage level? Hyuga Hayashi felt a little confused in his head. This news is a bit over the top. Even if this comic shop is amazing, it's just too unbelievable. But when I think that my daughter can have such a strong strength at such a young age, Hyuga Hayashi couldn't help but said, Hanabi, I want to test you. Seeing is better than hearing 100 things, he wanted to see if this was really the case. It is good. Hanabi nodded and suddenly asked, Father, what martial arts did you draw? Hyuga Hayashi, who was walking out of the door, stumbled, coughed awkwardly, and said, It's nothing, it's very ordinary, not very lucky. Hanabi snorted. Hyuga Hayashi and Hanabi came to the street in front of the manga shop. Hyuga Hayashi took a stance, locked Hanabi with his eyes, and said solemnly, Hanabi, are you ready? I won't let go. Hanabi nodded, ready, father. Robust double lion fist. Hyuga Hayashi let out a low voice, and the chakra in his fists suddenly burst out like blue flames, and immediately turned into the shape of the heads of 2 male lions. Hyuga Hayashi leaned forward and slammed on the ground. With the sound of, it rushed out like an arrow from the string. The blue male lion condensed by chakra on his fist opened a huge mouth, roaring like thunder, majestic. Soft step double lion fist is the high-level gentle fist of the Hyuga clan, and only the outstanding members of the Hyuga clan can master. He wanted to test out what level Hanabi's strength had reached. So this punch really didn't hold any hands. The power is so strong that even a rock will be shattered into pieces with one punch. Facing Hyuga Hayashi's all-out blow, Hanabi took a deep breath and opened his feet, his eyes flashing with fighting intent. When Hyuga Hayashi rushed forward, Hanabi threw a straight punch neatly. Armament Haki. Xiangxiu's little fist was instantly covered with a layer of black, faintly glowing with a metallic luster. At the same time, a violent force gushed out like a river bursting through the embankment, moving forward inexorably. One is the high-level gentle fist of the Hyuga family, and the other is the high-level armament Haki. At this moment, it was like 2 dragons, one black and one blue, collided together. Hinata watched nervously by the side, breaking into a cold sweat for both of them. Boom! The 2 fists clashed violently, and there was a thunderous explosion in the air. The surging waves swept in all directions. The ground under the feet of 2 figures, one big and one small, shattered with a boom, and the black cracks spread around like a spider web. Hyuga Hayashi's pupils suddenly opened. He clearly felt an infinite mighty force, rushing towards him like an overwhelming force. The severe pain from the fist seemed to tear flesh and blood. Hyuga Hayashi only resisted for a moment, then he couldn't resist the horror Haki anymore, and was kicked out with a punch. Scoff! Hyuga Hayashi was kicked out, and his feet made a mark more than 10 meters long on the ground. I felt the sharp pain of tearing from my fist. Bai's eyes widened to the limit, and he looked at Hanabi, who didn't seem to be using his full strength with a dull expression. This girl is actually so strong. Chapter 0017. Hokage Office. When Sarutobi Hiruzen and Kakashi saw this scene from the crystal ball, they couldn't help but gasped. They are very aware of Hyuga Hayashi's strength. The patriarch of the top Konoha clan, the Hyuga clan, is a master of taijutsu, and is definitely a strong man among Jonin. He was kicked out by his 7-year-old daughter? Seems like he's been badly injured? What is the strength of Hyuga Hanabi? Immediately, the 2 of them turned their gazes to Shen Ye, who was calm and windy at the entrance of the comic shop, with shock in their eyes. This comic shop is too scary. Just look at the manga and make a Jonin start or even cage-level powerhouse. Who is this boss? How can you open such an incredible comic shop? Sarutobi Hiruzen forcibly suppressed the stormy waves in his heart, took a deep breath of cigarettes, and thought for a moment, Kakashi, it seems that this manga shop is even scarier than I imagined. Easily turn a 7-year-old into a cage-level existence. This is not easy to do. I have to go there myself. Kakashi asked, need to mobilize Anbu. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned to look at Kakashi, do you think Anbu has meaning in the eyes of such beings? Hearing this, Kakashi fell silent. Indeed, the strength of the owner of this comic shop is beyond imagination. Taking more Anbu may not make a difference. When the strength reaches a certain level, it can no longer be countered by relying on quantity. Sarutobi Hiruzen got up, picked up the Hokage hat and clasped it on his head, and said, I only need to take 2 Anbu with me. This is a sign of our sincerity. There was an unprecedented dignified look in Hokage's eyes under the hat. He knows, Konoha is going to change. The ninja world is about to change. And at the center of it all is this comic shop. Father, are you all right? Seeing Hyuga Hayashi being thrown out with a punch, both Hinata and Hanabi came over nervously. Hyuga Hayashi put the purple palm behind his back and waved his hand to stop the 2 sisters. Although there was a cold sweat on his forehead, his face was still calm and he said, what are you talking about? It's just that test it, how could I be wrong? Well, after trying it, Hanabi's ability is really good. Shen Ye couldn't help but admire. Master Ah! Force yourself to pretend, even with tears in your eyes. Seeing that Hyuga Hayashi said it was fine, Hanabi let out a long breath of relief and said, I only used 30% of armament Haki just now, and I was worried about hurting my father. Hyuga Hayashi's face trembled. This trademark is only 30%? 30% armament haki is so strong, 100% is that good? Hanabi asked, Father, have you tried yet? This time I will definitely give it my all. I think you girl is trying to kill your father. Hyuga Hayashi felt a mouthful of old blood rushing up, so he didn't get angry, and said hurriedly, It's almost time for dinner, let's go eat first. Father, it's only after 3 o'clock. I'm hungry. Father, how do you put that hand behind you? I have a disc in my waist, rub my waist. Hyuga Hayashi bared his teeth and cracked his mouth from time to time in pain, and said, Okay, since we've all finished reading the manga, it's time to go home. MD, I must hurry home and get my medicine. I can't take it anymore. However, Hyuga Hayashi was happy from the bottom of his heart. Although he didn't get anything good, one of the two daughters got 18 dragon subduing palms, and the other got armament haki, and their strength was not improved by a single star. Especially Hanabi, who got armament haki, has even surpassed his father in hard power. You know, Hanabi is only 7 years old. Even super geniuses like Hitaki Sakumo and Uchiha Shisui are far from having such strength at this age. However, his Hyuga Hayashi's daughter did it. And this is just the beginning, she will get stronger and stronger in the future. For that alone, he, the father, was happier than he was getting any good. He seems to have foreseen the future rise of the Hyuga clan in the ninja world. Oh! Hanabi nodded. Hyuga Hayashi turned to look at Shen Ye, without any unnecessary nonsense, he directly bowed 90 degrees and said, Thank you very much. If it weren't for Shen Ye, Hinata and Hanabi would never have made such progress. The progress of the two daughters will give the entire Hyuga family a new future. Although the Hyuga clan is now regarded as the strongest clan in Konoha, that is because the Uchiha clan has been destroyed. When the Uchiha clan was there, the Hyuga clan even had the white eyes that were called the three major pupils together with Sharingan, but they were actually incomparable. The Sharingan of the Uchiha clan is only a primary form. They also have Manjiki Sharingan, Susanoo, Izanagi, and Izanami. What do the Hyuga clan compare to? In the history of the Hyuga family, there is not even a top powerhouse to boast about. But now that's all about to be rewritten. Hinata and Hanabi will be the name of the Hyuga family. As the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, it was completely right for him to give Shen Ye such a big gift, and even this was not enough to express his gratitude. What they get from here is not just a simple reward, but also the glory of the future Hyuga family. Sisters Hinata and Hanabi also bowed to Shen Ye together. Shen Ye smiled, You read comics, I'll collect money, and it's all your luck to get good things. Hyuga Hayashi got up and left with a few words of gratitude. Hinata, Hanabi and Shen Ye said goodbye and followed their father's back. How did Hanabi become so powerful? Inyazuki, who came to the manga store with Akamaru in his arms, happened to see the scene where Hyuga Hayashi and Hanabi competed. He was shocked beyond words, and immediately said with ecstasy, This manga store is really good. Inyazuki said to Akamaru in his arms, Akamaru, I will definitely make you even more powerful than that monster. Wong. Akamaru wagged his tail. Inyazuki walked into the manga store with Akamaru in his arms, and asked expectantly, Boss, do you have any manga here that can improve ninja dogs? The one who raised the ninja dog. Shen Ye said, There is no one who improves ninja dogs, but there is a book Digimon, Part 1 related to pets, you can check it out, there may be something you want. That's it. Inyazuki came to the bookshelf and was attracted by the cover of Digimon, Part 1 at first sight, took out the money and said, I want to see it. Shen Ye finished collecting the money. Inyazuka Toga happily hugged the manga and went to the seat to read it. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen approached the manga shop with two Anbu wearing white masks. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the two Anbu and warned in a deep voice, Wait a minute when I go to the comic store, you two are waiting for me at the door. Remember. Nothing can happen, don't offend the owner of that comic shop. Remember? Yes. Both Anbu promises at the same time. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his gaze to the manga shop, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. Chapter 0018. Oh, it's your honored guest. Seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen entering the door, Shen Ye smiled lightly. Although he said that, he still sat there with the old god, and he didn't mean to be respectful at all. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed, I heard Kakashi talk about your manga shop, you can get rewards from manga by reading manga. It's really eye-opening, and I want to try it too. While speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shen Ye carefully, seemingly casually. This is the mysterious powerhouse who used the power of spirit to attack himself halfway across the Konoha village? The owner of this incredible comic shop? He seems to be just an ordinary young man. Of course, if anyone really treats him as an ordinary person and offends him, then he probably won't even know how he died. Sarutobi Hiruzen even considered Shen Ye to be a powerhouse at a higher level than himself. The first time I watched 5,000 Taels, I could only read one, and the comics were all on the bookshelf. Shen Ye pointed to the bookshelf. Okay. Sarutobi Hiruzen paid 5,000 Taels and went to the bookshelf to choose comics. Lord Hokage actually reads manga too. Inuyasukaya looked up to see Sarutobi Hiruzen, and was stunned for a moment. It's the kid from the Inuzuka family. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and said nothing, looking at the 5 manga books on the shelf. Cut. Crimson Eyes, One Piece, East Blue, Dragon Babu, Sailor Moon, Part 1. Until he saw the 5th book Velvet Pattern, his eyes could no longer move. This cover. It looks very exciting, I really want to see it. Wrong. I'm Hokage, how can I read this kind of manga? What happened to Hokage? Hokage is also a man, right? After the fierce quarrel between the two voices in his mind, justice finally triumphed over evil, and Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up Velvet Pattern and sat aside to watch. It's really exciting, the first episode is so exciting. Sarutobi Hiruzen flipped through the manga and looked at it. In the manga shop at this time, there were only the voices of Inuyasukaya and Sarutobi Hiruzen who kept flipping through the books. An hour passed. After reading Digimon, Part 1, Inuyasukaya said with tears in his eyes, and said in a choked voice, Taiki and Agumon are separated like this, I can't bear it. Taiki Yagami and the others joined forces with the Digimon to defeat Apocalypseman, who wanted to destroy the digital world. The digital world has returned to peace. However, after experiencing many difficulties and dangers, they finally have to face the moment of separation. He knows what it's like to grow up with a pet. Just like Akamaru, to him, it is no longer just a pet, but a brother who grew up with him and a comrade in arms who fought side by side with him. If he was to be separated from Akamaru from now on, that feeling would be unpleasant just thinking about it. At this time, Shen Ye's system message refreshed. Customer Inuyasukaya has finished reading Digimon, Part 1, and obtained Garuruman Evolution Card. Garuruman Evolution Card, you can designate a canine to evolve into a Digimon Garuruman. Garuruman is a mature beast Digimon with cyan and white hair all over its body. The minions are sharp, their movements are agile, their hair is as hard as metal, their intelligence is very high, and they are very loyal to their masters. Possess skills, Demon Fox Flame, Frozen Fang, Ice Wall. Garuruman using an evolution card does not have the ability to evolve again. This guy's luck is good, he actually got what he wanted most. Shen Ye smiled. Although Garuruman that evolved using an evolution card does not have the ability to evolve again, but just in the form of Garuruman, it can definitely be called a powerful assistant. A dazzling light fell into Inuyasukaya's hand and turned into a black card. Inuyasukaya looked at Shen Ye curiously, Boss, what kind of reward is this? Shen Ye said, the Garuruman evolution card can make a canine evolve into a Garuruman, with all the abilities of a Garuruman. Really? Hearing this, Inuyasukaya's eyes widened, unable to believe that he was so lucky. I originally came to this manga shop just to make Akamaru stronger. But after reading the comics, he felt that even if he just came here for comics, it would be very good. He had never seen such a wonderful comic, even if he didn't get any good rewards, it didn't matter. Unexpectedly, I really got a Garuruman evolution card. His favorite while reading manga is Garuruman. Garuruman is the dog Digimon of the male number 2 Ishida Yamato. It is loyal and brave, with a cool appearance and strong skills. It almost meets all his imagination for a ninja dog partner. Inuyasukaya looked at Akamaru and said expectantly, Akamaru, you can become a Garuruman later. You have the power of a Digimon. Then let's go to Konohamaru and beat him up. Wong! Wong! Akamaru screamed twice in excitement, wagging his tail impatiently. Inuyasuka Tooth pointed the evolution card at Akamaru and shouted, Transform! Akamaru! Akamaru waited, wagging his tail. But nothing changed. Inuyasukaya was stunned for a moment, and then said, the evolution of Akamaru, Garuruman. Akamaru continued to wait with his tail wagging. I command you in the name of God, evolve. This era needs you, it's time for you to evolve. Atima, Dolostromo, Hajabe Deus at number UN %, Aology. After trying all kinds of spells nonsense, Inyazuki looked at Shen Ye with a broken face. Boss, what's the situation? Why doesn't it work? Shen Ye leaned on his chin and said, you can just throw the evolution card on Akamaru. Inyazuka tooth, it's that simple? Don't you call a spell on something so sacred? Does this make sense? Inyazuka said, then why didn't you remind me, boss? Shen Ye said, I think you had a good time there yourself. Inyazuka tooth, I'm strong, I don't cry. Shen Ye reminded, the Garura beast is too big, you go outside and use the evolution card. It is good. Inyazuka took Akamaru to the street and put the evolution card on Akamaru. The evolution card instantly became radiant, and immediately turned into mysterious energy into Akamaru's body. A fiery energy rampaged through Akamaru's body, like countless wild horses, and soon spread to all corners of his body. Akamaru grew rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, and blue Madara lines began to appear on his body. Finally, Akamaru turned into a Garuruman nearly 2 stories tall. His posture was arrogant, his eyes were cold and severe, and there was a frightening and ferocious aura on his body. Totally alter the evolution of species. A look of shock appeared on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face. When Inyazuki started using the evolution card, he began to pay attention to Akamaru, and witnessed Akamaru's evolution from a white puppy to a malevolent Garuruman. This is totally the evolution of breakthrough species. Evolutionary costs do not exist for species in this world. It can no longer be described as simple magic, but a mighty power like a god. You can understand it when you are there. How incredible is this comic shop? Chapter 0019. Akamaru, is that you? Inyazuki looked at this majestic Garura beast with surprise and joy in his eyes. Wang. Akamaru slumped down and sweetened Inyazuka tooth with his tongue to show intimacy. Although Akamaru's appearance has changed to the fierce appearance of Garuruman, it still emits the original puppy sound, which has a very interesting contrast. Ha ha ha. Akamaru, you are so handsome now. Inyazuka Toga stroked the tip of Akamaru's nose, delighted. Well, Akamaru, who received the compliment, narrowed his eyes and groaned very usefully. Inyazuka said excitedly, by the way, Akamaru, do you know the ability of Garuruman now? Akamaru opened his mouth, and a blazing blue flame condensed. This is Garuruman's fox flame. Inyazuki was completely sure that Akamaru had all the abilities of Master Garuruman, and he was overjoyed. He turned to Shen Ye and said, Boss, your comic shop is amazing. Shen Ye leaned against the door and chuckled, in the comic store, anything is possible. Goodbye, boss, and come back when there is a chance. You are welcome anytime. Inyazuki jumped on Akamaru and rode on it, pointed forward, and said, let's go, Akamaru, to find that guy Konohamaru. Let him know the fate of daring to plant us in the soil. Wang. Akamaru roared and left the manga shop with Inyazuki, rushing like the wind, extremely fast, to seek revenge for Konohamaru. Knowing that Inyazuki's search for Konohamaru was just a farce among children, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not intervene and continued to look down at his velvet pattern. Next is the heroine looking for the NTR plots of those former friends, so chicken jelly Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the wonderful place, and the page-turning speed also slowed down. However, Velvet Pattern only has 32 chapters after all, so I can finish it soon. System Information Update. Customer Sarutobi Hiruzen has finished reading Velvet Pattern and got T-Egg. T-Egg, it can be moved when charged, and it is a happy and good helper for traveling at home. Shen Ye was drinking black tea and almost spit it out. Happy good helper. This adjective is very spiritual. At this moment, a brilliant light fell on Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand. Rao is a city like Sarutobi Hiruzen, and there is a faint expectation in his eyes. What could it be? Although there is nothing beyond the ability of ordinary people in the world of velvet patterns. But he found that the technological level of the velvet pattern world is far beyond this world. Among them, there are mobile phones that can establish contact at any time, computers that can browse information on the internet, and various technological products that are not available in this world. If you can get a technology product and send it to Konoha's R&D department, it may be possible to copy it. Suddenly, the light dissipated. Although it is a technology product. But it is a T-Egg. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression froze in an instant, and all the beautiful illusions were shattered. What are you doing? Why is there such a thing? Even if it's an 18-ban manga, he wouldn't be able to draw this thing for himself, right? If anyone sees this, he might think that Hokage is an old BT. Let it go, let it go. Sarutobi Hiruzen put down the little thing calmly, walked to the door, and said to the two Anbu sternly, well, let's go back first, there are still some documents to deal with in the office. Yes. Two Anbu should be. Sarutobi Hiruzen was about to leave when Shen Ye stopped. Hokage, you forgot to take your eggs. Said and pointed to the little thing hidden in the corner of the table. Sarutobi Hiruzen blushed, yes, is it mine? It's yours. Shen Ye said dutifully. How can customers not take away the rewards they get? We are a responsible store. Not those unscrupulous merchants who are coquettish. Hearing this, the two Anbu quickly turned their faces to one side and pretended not to see anything. Lord Hokage is so old, how can he still have such sexual interest? Hey cough, I forgot just now. Sarutobi Hiruzen had no choice but to shove the little thing into the outer kabuto of Hokage's coat. Shen Ye smiled and said, no thanks. I didn't say thank you. Sarutobi Hiruzen took the two Anbu away with the corners of his mouth twitching, his face as black as the bottom of a pot. 13 people on the first day, not bad. Shen Ye stretched. Look at the time, it's closing time, so hang up a sign of closing. On the first day, there were a total of 13 customers, excluding those with 55 points from the system, the income was 32,500 taels. The money he earned on this day was equivalent to more than what he had earned in the previous 6 months. And this is just the beginning, the fame will only increase in the future. At this time, the system panel pops up. You are closed, please select one of the rewards for all customers today. Today's rewards, Taishu Edition 18 Palms of Subduing the Dragon, Transformation into a Hungarian Needle, Flying 1000 Miles Mastema, Dangerous Species Snow Demon Ape, Gentleman's Staff. Shen Ye glanced at today's 13 rewards. Worthy of selection are the two Emperors of Flying 1000 Miles Mastema, Warcraft Change 100 Armed Giant, and Garp's Armament Haki. With little thought, Shen Ye chose Garp's Armament Haki. Although Shen Ye is absolutely invincible in the comic shop, it is impossible to just stay in the comic shop and always go out. In particular, the reputation of the comic shop has gradually spread, and more people will be eyeing him, and there may be many dangers. Although the two pieces of Taigu are also good, one is a bodyguard with attack and flesh, and the other is a flying prop. But it's still a foreign thing. Armament Haki's own ability to attack and defend is suitable for him who has no means of self-defense now. You choose Garp's Armament Haki as a reward, and the distribution starts. After Shen Ye selected Garp's Armament Haki, a bright beam of light fell from the sky and rushed into the body. After a while, the beam disappeared. Shen Ye felt the power of Haki suddenly rising in his body, and said with a smile, as expected of the top Haki in the pirate world, it's very strong. Armament Haki with Garp, Shen Ye's full blow, blasting a mountain is not a problem. If a cage-level powerhouse with no special defense means is hit, he will definitely die or be destroyed. The upper limit of strength in the world of Hokage is higher than that of the world of pirates. However, the physique of most cage-level powerhouses is only in the category of ordinary people. Shen Ye pushed Armament Haki's punch with all his strength, possessing the power to blast the mountain, which is simply not something that ordinary flesh can withstand. Of course, the stamina consumed by such a powerful Armament Haki is also astonishing. If Hanabi's small body is used to perform, he is afraid that his physical strength will be exhausted on the spot. Chapter 0020. Shen Ye looked at the system panel. Host, Shen Ye Comic, Cut. Crimson Eyes, Sailor Moon, Part 1, Dragon Babu, Digimon, Part 1, Velvet Kiss, One Piece, East Blue Drawing. 3 customers can draw a comic book, received, 4/10 people, can draw, 0 times task, accumulate 50 customers to receive a mysterious reward, received, 13/50 people. There are 13 customers today. I should be able to get the mysterious reward tomorrow, right? Shen Ye rubbed his chin. The system never revealed what the mystery reward would be. It made him feel a little itchy. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Clang clang. Shen Ye opened the door. Hong Yui stood outside the door, shook the fresh eel in his hand, and said with a smile, "Little Shen Ye, come to my house, I'll make you your favorite eel rice." "Okay." As soon as she heard that it was the eel rice that Yuri Hong made by herself, Shen Ye's greedy worm was immediately hooked up and locked the door of the comic shop. He didn't have to worry about someone entering the comic shop, stealing the comics, or peeking at the comics. As long as someone has an idea for the comic shop, he can get the news as soon as possible. Moreover, without his system certification, even if you read the comics by heart, you won't get the slightest reward. And now that he has Garp's armament haki, he's not afraid of what someone will do when he goes out. Shen Ye and Yuri Hong went home for dinner. On the other side, Inyazuka rides Akamaru to find Konohamaru, ready to avenge himself for being planted in the soil before. Konohamaru. Inyazuka rode on Garuruman's back, looked down at Konohamaru below, and said proudly, "Let's compare your ninja dog with my Akamaru." I said it was Taigu, not a ninja dog. Konohamaru gritted his teeth and turned his eyes to Akamaru, who evolved into a Garuruman under Inyazuka's crotch. His majestic appearance made his eyes bright, and he asked in disbelief, "Is this Akamaru?" "Wang!" Akamaru shouted proudly. "The appearance is majestic, but the voice is still milky and milky." Konoha confirmed. "This is Akamaru without a doubt." The corner of Inyazuka's mouth twitched and said, "How about you, don't you dare? It's too late to admit your mistake." "Hey, what are you kidding?" Konohamaru also showed fighting intent in his eyes, and said to Zyubi, "Zyubi, these two guys are coming to provoke you again for some reason, so give them a good look." Bibi jumped out of Konohamaru's arms and entered combat form. The small body swelled sharply, turning into a giant monster with a height of more than 3 meters. The giant Zyubi roared and slammed his fist at Akamaru. Akamaru now has the strength, without any fear, he opened his mouth and spewed out the incomparably blazing demon fox flame. Bang! Zyubi's huge fist collided with the demon fox flame. The demon fox flame was shattered by a punch, and with the wind, it swept around like a tide. Although Zyubi shattered the flames, part of his arm was also burned by the flames. The high temperature of Garuruman's demon fox flame is far higher than that of ordinary flames, that is, a biological emperor like Zyubi, if it were a human being, the whole person would be burnt to charcoal. However, the damaged part of Bibi quickly grew back. Zyubi and Akamaru simultaneously showed their arrogant fighting intent, and then charged towards each other. Bang! Bang! Akamaru and Zyubi have a Digimon and a Taigu, and they start an explosive hand-to-hand battle with great visual impact. Both are equally stalwart, equally violent, and it is hard to tell the difference in battle. However, the ground and surrounding trees could not withstand the attack of the two and kept breaking. Inyazuka and Konohamaru cheered each other next to him. "What's the sound there?" Inyazuka, who was leading Kuromaru on patrol, looked in the direction of the sound, sniffed his nose, and said with a solemn expression, "This smell, is there someone from Konoha?" Kuromaru, a ninja dog with a black blindfold on his right eye, said, "I smell the breath of teeth." Tooth. Inyazuka Hana, who was leading the 3 Shiimura ninja dogs, said, "Who is that guy fighting with? This stinky boy really doesn't give my mother peace of mind." Inyazukazuo snorted dissatisfiedly, and said, go there and have a look." Several fast black shadows jumped and flickered on the house. However, when Inyazuka Claw, Inyazuka Hana and several ninja dogs arrived at the scene, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. A giant wolf with silver-white hair and blue stripes. Standing alone, a white dog-shaped monster with a violent aura. The two sides are fighting fiercely. The terrifying destructive power raised the surrounding area to rubble. Even the special Jainin, Inyazuka, looked a little terrified. And Inyazuka and Konohamaru cheered on both sides. Tooth. Seeing that Inyazuka still has the heart to cheer in such a dangerous place, Inyazuka's claw does not hit a single place, and he shouts violently. "Mom!" When Inyazuka, who was shouting happily, heard the voice of Inyazuka's mother, he was shocked. Even Akamaru, who was in the battle, shrank his neck in fright and hurriedly stopped. No way, the fear of Inyazuka Claw, Inyazuka Tooth and Akamaru are all imprinted in their bones. When Konohamaru saw Inyazuka, he hurriedly stopped Zyubi and slipped away, and before leaving, he didn't forget to give Inyazuka a gloating look of "Please ask for your own blessings." Inyazuka's volcanic temper is well known in Konoha, and even Hokage is right when he is angry. It's hell mode to educate children. When Inyazuka was a child, his screams were often heard in their yard. "You kid is so dark and still not going home, what are you doing here? And didn't you see how dangerous it was just now?" You actually dare to watch the fun by the side, do you ignore the old lady's words? Inyazuka claw grabbed Inyazuka tooth who was trying to escape, with a strong murderous intent in his eyes. Inyazuka was so frightened that he was in a cold sweat and smiled awkwardly, Mom, I'm here with Akamaru. I'm training here. Akamaru. Inyazuka frowned and said, Akamaru? By the way, where did that little thing go? Wang. Akamaru squatted on the ground immediately, and let out a good cry. Although we have evolved into Garuruman, we should be cowardly. After all, it hurts not to be cowardly. What? You said you were Akamaru. Inyazuka couldn't help being stunned when he looked at the silver and blue giant wolf. The little thing Akamaru is not as big as the toe of the giant wolf in front of him. It actually said that it was Akamaru? Kuromaru walked to Akamaru and sniffed, showing a shocking humanized expression, and said, the smell on this guy. That's right. It's Akamaru. Tooth, what the hell is going on? Inyazuka looked at Inyazuka in astonishment. When asked, Inyazuka Tooth repeated the matter to Inyazuka and Inyazuka Hana. You read the comics and got an evolution card with what kind of beast? And then evolve Akamaru into what it is now? It was Akamaru just now competing with a special ninja dog that Konohamaru also got from that manga shop? What are you kidding? Inyazuka felt like he was listening to a story. And it's super unpredictable. But the smell of Akamaru is not wrong, that is Akamaru. But this is too bizarre, right? Is it because I'm too old to keep up with the times? Chapter 0021. Mom, that's really what it is. Inyazuka said quickly. Inyazuka stroked his forehead, wait, let me stroke it again. This news is hard to digest for a while. Inyazuka said curiously, Yay, where is that comic shop, take me and my mother to see it. Hearing this, Inyazuka's eyes also lit up. Inyazuka remembered the business hours hanging at the entrance of the comic shop, and said, that comic shop should have closed by now. If you want to go, you have to wait until tomorrow. Saying that, Inyazuka asked tentatively, Mom, you won't be angry, will you? What are you angry about? You did a great job on this one. Inyazuka, who finally made himself accept this matter, stroked Akamaru, who evolved into Garuruman, with undisguised love, and at the same time, his heart was stirring, if it's really like what you said, then we dogs. There is hope for the Tsukezu clan to rise. This one that Akamaru evolved is only a mature Digimon. But in terms of combat power, even Jainin would have a headache. And you said that beyond the maturity stage, there are still Digimon with a perfect body or even an ultimate body. How powerful should that be? If the ninja dogs of our Inyazuka clan can evolve, we can even become one of the few families in the ninja world in the future. Seeing that he was praised instead of being criticized, Inyazuka said excitedly, Mom, old sister, then I'll take you there tomorrow. Sunset Red House. Sure enough, the eel rice made by Sister Hong is the best. Shen Ye tasted the eel rice made by Hong Yui and couldn't help but admire. Red Yui's cooking skills really have nothing to say. Full color and flavor. After being praised by Shen Ye, Yuri's safflower face beamed brightly, and she brought other dishes to Shen Ye, and said gently, then eat more. On the other side, the float beast jumped onto the dining table by itself, and ate directly on the eel rice with a big mouthful of bahahaha. Digimon came to the world of Hokage, and the food was also systematically modified to be the same food as humans. Just need food for energy. Shen Ye and Yuri Hong were eating and chatting, drinking more and more wine. Although the degree of sake is not high, the stamina is not small. The wine is coming up quickly. Hong Yui was drunk and slightly drunk, and the blushing on both sides of her face was very beautiful. Shen Ye raised his head, just in time to meet Yui Hong's ruby-like eyes, faintly blurred in the dim yellow light. Yui Hong's face turned even redder in an instant. There was a strange atmosphere in the air. Clap! The float beast that was lying on the plate to eat suddenly accidentally hit the plate to the ground, and the whole beast fell into the meal. Floating ball beast, the fragments didn't hurt you, right? Only then did Hong Yui come back to her senses and was busy holding the floating ball beast in her arms. At the same time, the woman's heart is in turmoil. What was going on with him just now? He was a little lost when he looked at Shen Ye. The float beast opened its innocent big eyes, looked at Yuri Hong, and then at Shen Ye, and said in a milky voice, Am I in a particularly bad time? Are you too disturbed? Where is it? That's all you have, Don't talk nonsense. Yui Hongxiu's face was hot, and she needed the floating ball beast's face hard. The floating ball beast's face kept changing with various geometric shapes, and he said helplessly, but I already smell the sour smell of a certain woman's love. Root headquarters. An old man with a bandage on his head and right arm, holding a wooden staff in his left hand. Standing in the dark shadow, quietly looking at the Konoha logo in front of him, as if to incarnate the darkness under the Konoha logo. A shadow flashed. A root member wearing a white mask knelt on one knee and appeared behind the old man. The old man said in a hoarse voice, "How is the investigation?" "Report to Lord Danzo, it has been found out." The root member reported, that manga shop does have the ability to read manga and get abilities or items from the manga. Hyuga Hinata, Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto and others entered the manga shop successively and were rewarded. They are all strange things that the ninja world has never heard of today. The owner's name is Aizawa Shen Ye, the only son of Konoha genin Aizawa Togo and Yamaguchi Murasaki. Hearing this, Danzo's left eye pupil shrank suddenly, and the cold light flashed away, saying, "Konoha has been lurking such characters all the time, but I never knew it. Can you get things from other world by reading comics?" Even if he made up stories, he wouldn't dare to make up such a wild story. The root member remained silent. When he heard the news just now, he also thought it was fake. But as he continued to investigate, he had to believe it. It's all true. There is such a comic shop that subverts the world's cognition. Danzo turned around slowly and said, "Didn't you try that comic shop?" The root member said, "By the time I confirm the news, that comic shop has already closed." Danzo was about to speak when he stopped. A masked figure of Anbu appeared like a ghost. "Lord Hokage has ordered that no one is allowed to offend that manga shop without permission. Violators will be responsible for the consequences." "Oh, no, I should call you Yamato now." Danzo's eyes were sharp, staring at the Anbu. Yamato froze. He was the only surviving subject in the first Hokage Senju Hashirama cell experiment conducted by Orochimaru, inheriting the wood style of first Hokage. Although the level of wood style is far from first Hokage, it is still a unique wood style after all. After Orochimaru defected to Konoha, he was taken in by Danzo. Later, because he did not agree with Danzo's dark behavior, he switched to Sarutobi Hiruzen's side with the help of Kakashi. Sarutobi Hiruzen named him Tenzo, which was later changed to Yamato. But he still harbors a slight fear of Danzo. If Sarutobi Hiruzen is the Hokage of Konoha, the ruler of the bright side, then Danzo is the shadow of Konoha, the enforcer of darkness. He secretly carried out many cruel and dirty actions, using any means to achieve his goals, and behind many conspiracies he had his black hands. This is also the reason why he couldn't bear it any longer and chose to leave the route. Danzo's eyes were like those of a skinning and deboning knife. He looked at Yamato, and said slowly, "Hiruzen, doesn't he know what kind of danger exists in that comic shop? If it is allowed to continue to exist, it is likely to subvert Konoha. But if we can master it in our hands, the value it can bring will be immeasurable." Yamato said, "Master Hokage said that if he offended the owner of the manga shop, he would never intervene in any conflict. This was for Konoha's sake." "Humph, Hiruzen is still the same kind of woman as always." Danzo snorted coldly and said, "I'll go find him myself, but I want to see what he has to say." Chapter 0022 Hokage Office. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood in front of the window with his hands behind his back, with a pipe in his mouth, looking out the window at the lights of thousands of homes. "Don't know what to think." Like a stone statue. After a while, the office door was pushed open. Danzo walked in and said coldly, "Hiruzen, don't say you don't understand the impact that comic shop can bring to the ninja world." Sarutobi Hiruzen still looked out the window, did not turn around. His tone was also indifferent. "It is because of understanding that I told you not to act rashly. Are you afraid?" "I'm afraid you don't even know how to die." Sarutobi Hiruzen's gloomy face was reflected on the window, and he said, "Do you think you can provoke that person by yourself? Even if he is stronger, can he defeat the entire Konoha?" Danzo snorted coldly. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head sharply, with a shuddering coldness in his eyes. "If I told you, he could." That's what he's most dissatisfied with Danzo, who often gets past him and acts of his own accord. Moreover, the whole Konoha is brought in at every turn, and at every turn it is for Konoha. No leader likes the people below. If it wasn't for the fact that Danzo is sometimes a good knife, he can get rid of some people who shouldn't continue to exist for him, he would have kicked Danzo out of the high-level circle. What did you say? Danzo finally changed his color when he heard this. Can he fight against the entire Konoha by himself? Is that comic shop owner so terrifying? I am afraid that even if that Uchiha Madara is reincarnated, it may not be able to do it. At this time, two senior Konoha advisors, Mitokado Homura and Yuditen Koharu, also entered the office. Mitokado Homura looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, I heard that there seems to be a very strange comic shop in the village. You must have come here for the two of us. Yuditen Koharu said, I heard that even you went there. It seems that you already know a lot of information. The expressions of the two old men were very serious. Now that all four of Konoha's most powerful masters have arrived, there has been no such event for a long time. Sarutobi Hiruzen took the pipe down and said, I think you've all heard about the same thing, so I won't talk nonsense and go straight to the point. First, what you've heard is true. I went to that comic store myself and confirmed it. Danzo had known it for a long time, and his expression remained the same. But Mitokado Homura and Yuditen Koharu shuddered, shock written on their old faces. Is what they heard true? Does such a magical comic shop really exist in the world? They couldn't believe it. But even Sarutobi Hiruzen personally confirmed that it was a sure thing. Immediately, they thought of the terrible impact that such a comic shop would have in Konoha, so that they, who boasted that they had seen many big winds and waves in their lives, were also hit with cold sweat on their backs in an instant. Konoha. No, the world of ninjas will change drastically. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, secondly, don't let any of you lose your mind and offend the owner of that manga shop. Yuditen Koharu said, why? If we can control the comic shop, or get the comics in his shop, Konoha's strength can definitely skyrocket. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath, and then said seriously, because, we can't afford it. What? Mitokado Homura and Yuditen Koharu exclaimed in unison. Sarutobi Hiruzen is one of the most famous and powerful men in the ninja world today. He may look old on the outside, but he is still a proud and arrogant person on the inside. The position of Konoha Hokage, who is the most powerful village in the 5 hidden villages, is impossible to fall into the name of Konoha at any time. But how could he actually say such a thing now? Danzo's eyes narrowed slightly, have you played against him? Fight. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed at himself, that can't be called a fight. To be precise, it was just a small touch, and I was completely crushed. Danzo's pupils shrank at the same time. They are familiar with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Although he is old now, his strength is still good, a proper cage-level powerhouse. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen will be completely crushed? Could it be that the manga shop owner is a more terrifying being than Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara? Is it possible? Looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen's unprecedented serious expression, they already knew the answer. Sarutobi Hiruzen smoked his pipe again and said solemnly to the three, now, do you understand why I am not asking you to take any action? At least for now, we must not act rashly. That will only bring immeasurable disaster to Konoha, which we cannot afford. Moreover, although comic shops are accompanied by risks, they are also full of opportunities. It opens in Konoha, and it is Konoha that can benefit the most. This is something that is more beneficial to us, and there is no need to turn it into a disaster when it is not worth the loss in the current situation of uncertainty. The three did not speak, but after careful consideration, they all acquiesced to Sarutobi Hiruzen's words. Even the most radical Danzo has this attitude. The comic shop opened in Konoha, and most of the people who read comics are Konoha people, and they get rewards that can improve Konoha's overall strength. Of course, there will inevitably be a lot of chaos. But compared to that, if you dared to offend an unfathomable existence, it would undoubtedly be a more unfavorable thing. At the moment, it is not clear how deep the owner of this comic shop is, and we can only temporarily acquiesce to the existence of this comic shop. As for the future, we will talk about it. Seeing that none of the three raised any objections, Sarutobi Hiruzen said, that's it, remember my words. The three Danzo got up and left. Danzo and Mitokado Homura go first, Yuditen Koharu behind. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly said, Koharu, I have something to tell you. Yuditen Koharu is in charge of this aspect of the laboratory. He wanted to ask how Yuditen Koharu's men had analyzed the dead body of the dangerous species, and whether they had obtained any valuable information. Yuditen Koharu said, What? It's about. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, accidentally knocking off the Hokage coat on the table. The vibrating egg that had been in the Kabuto coat slipped out. The jumping egg fell to the ground and hit the switch, and it vibrated directly. Hum walk around like a small animal. I outnumber you in percent. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes bulged, and 10,000 grass and mud horses roared out of his heart. How did you do it? You forgot to put this in your coat, Kabuto? This trademark also came out. If you don't say it when you touch it, why do you still move on your own? I trademark. Chapter 0023. Sarutobi Hiruzen was heartbroken at the moment. This misunderstanding happened at this time. This time it becomes yellow mud and drops his pants. Kabuto, it's not what it is or what it is. Looking at the little golden thing on the ground shaking and walking all over the ground, Yudin Koharu was instantly petrified. Hiruzen him, what does he mean? He said he had something to do with me. Difficult, is it? Danzo and Mitokado Homura turned their heads and saw what was on the ground, also confused, and immediately looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with teasing eyes. Hiruzen, who is sane all day, is this good? You are this age, okay? What's the matter? According to the development, do we still have to do the whole thing in the office later? Sure. Looking at Danzo and Mitokado Homura's eyes, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that what he said was useless. He only felt a burst of angina. Why didn't I just throw this thing away? No, I shouldn't have gone to that comic shop at all. This is a misunderstanding. My trademark character is broken. Danzo coughed and said with a weird smile to Mitokado Homura, Homura, what are you looking at? Don't hurry up, are you still going to study? Oh. Mitokado Homura hurriedly followed, closing the door by the way. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Yudin Koharu in the office late at night, this scene. Too hot. Okay. Slipped away. With a pop, the door closed. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Yudin Koharu were left in the office. The little golden thing was still vibrating, running all over the place. Yudin Koharu coughs. Sarutobi Hiruzen hurriedly picked up the egg and turned off the switch. Koharu, actually I. Yudin Koharu blushed and whispered, needless to say, I understand. You know AP. Sarutobi Hiruzen vomited 3 liters of blood inside. Yudin Koharu reminded, but with the two of them just now, you shouldn't be in such a hurry, what to say in private. I outnumber you in percent. Sarutobi Hiruzen resisted the urge to spurt blood on the spot, thinking that it would be better to say it generously than to hide and tuck in, spread the jumping egg in his hand, and said, Koharu, in fact, this is what I got from reading the comics in that comic shop. Yes, I. Yudin Koharu blushed even more, took the thing in Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand, and said, okay, I'll accept it. Don't keep bringing this thing out, you are Hokage, so others can't see it well. Yudin Koharu put something into the kabuto and glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen, if you have something, come to my house tomorrow and tell me. With that said, Yudin Koharu turned and left. Sarutobi Hiruzen froze in place, like a stone statue. 4 philosophical questions keep repeating in my mind. Who I am? Where am I? What am I doing? How did this trademark become like this? Shen Ye returned to the comic shop from Yuhihong's house and slept until after 7 o'clock the next day. After washing, get dressed. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Konohamaru, Mo Huang, and Yudin waiting outside. The 3 of Konohamaru sat on the street-side chairs. Meng Huang asked curiously, Konohamaru, is this comic shop really as good as you said? Of course. Konohamaru caressed Zyobi's soft body back and forth, and said proudly, Zyobi is what I got from reading the comics. You two also saw Zyobi's fighting form just now, isn't it cool? Recalling the battle form of Zyobi just now, Yudin balled his nose and said, it's really strong, stronger than those ninja summoned beasts I've ever seen. But it costs 5,000 taels to read a copy, which is too expensive. Meng Huang and I don't have that much money. What are you afraid of? There is me. Konohamaru said lavishly, I brought all the pocket money from the family, a full 30,000 taels, and the 3 of us are definitely enough. Wow, Konohamaru, you are so rich. Meng Huang said excitedly. She saw that Konohamaru's whole person was shining with the light called rich. 30,000 taels. Yudin folded his fingers and said, how many toys can you buy, Kunao? We're almost at the Jainin school, and some of them are really Kunao, so what kind of toy do we buy? Can you give me something to do? Konohamaru couldn't help but slap the Yuden on the head. At this time, the comic shop is open. Seeing Shen Ye, Konohamaru's eyes lit up instantly. Boss, I'm here again. Konohamaru directly put a stack of 20,000 taels of banknotes on the table and said, the three of us. Shen Ye took the money and said with a smile, the comics are all on the bookshelf, go read it yourself. One Piece, East Blue. Velvet Pattern? 2 more new comics today. Konohamaru immediately noticed the 2 new manga that had not been available when he arrived yesterday. Looking at the visually striking cover of Velvet Pattern, Konohamaru smiled evilly, this book looks good, just this one. Konohamaru went to the seat with the manga. You guys are really sexy. Meng Huang hummed and spit out a bad sentence, chose Sailor Moon, Part 1, looked at the 5 Sailor Moons on the cover, and said happily, I envy this kind of long-legged beautiful girl the most, if I will also it would be nice to have a body like that. Yuden finally came to the bookshelf, touched the back of his head, and muttered, Konohamaru is the one that I got from reading this book / Scarlet Eyes, then I will come here too, maybe I can get a little one also a great emperor. 3 people selected comics and sat at a table. Wow, this plot unfolds so well. Is there still such an active young lady? Give me a dozen. Oh ho ho ho, the shower is so sunny. What a red chicken. Konohamaru read the manga, and the more he read it, the more excited he became. Meng Huang and Yuden on the side were also attracted by the comic plot and were fascinated by it. Shen Ye made a cup of black tea and sat there with Erlang's legs crossed. Gently blow the steam on the tea, take a sip, and the aftertaste is sweet. There were already 13 customers yesterday. After this night's fermentation, the business will definitely double today. At this time, Naruto came to the manga shop. After wandering a few times, he seemed a little hesitant, but he finally walked in. Shen Ye said, do you want to read the comics? That, boss. Can I owe you 6,000 taels first? I rummaged through the house to get 4,000 taels together. Naruto looked pitiful. Sorry, we don't take credit. Shen Ye shrugged. Hearing this, Naruto's expression collapsed. Konohamaru, who was reading the manga, raised his head when he heard a familiar voice and said in surprise, Boss Naruto. Konohamaru. Old man Naruto, do you read manga too? No, no. Naruto was embarrassed to admit that he didn't have enough money, and said, I just came here to take a look at it to see if there are any new comics. It seems that there are none, so I will go back first. Chapter 0024. Konohamaru, who knew Naruto's economic situation, smiled and said proudly, thanks to Naruto's boss telling me, I can know such a great place. As a thank you, I invite you to see it this time. Naruto said embarrassedly, that's 10,000 taels, Konohamaru said with a smile, what does it matter, can't you just invite me to watch when boss Naruto has money? Hearing this, Naruto's eyes showed a touch of emotion. Few people in the village consider themselves friends like Konohamaru. He secretly decided in his heart that he would make good money for his tasks in the future, and then he would also invite Konohamaru to read manga. Boss, this is 10,000 taels. Konohamaru came to Shen Ye, handed over the money for Naruto, and went back to his seat to read his comics. Naruto started picking up manga. Yesterday's Sailor Moon, Part 1 was chosen by him at random. At that time, he was still dubious about the ability of the comic shop, not completely serious. But now that he already knows the power of comic shops, he can no longer be so casual, and must choose carefully. After all, the rewards all come from the comics. Comics with the theme of Sailor Moon are mostly rewards associated with beautiful girls. If you choose the kind of bloody fighting manga, you will have a higher probability of getting combat rewards. I have no interest in the subject of Dragon Babu. Digimon is all about pets. Hey? This One Piece, East Blue looks pretty good. Naruto tossed around and finally settled on this One Piece manga. Naruto took the manga and sat down with Konohamaru. What is Luffy's body made of? How can his hands stretch that long? This Alvida is fat and ugly, how dare she say that she is the most beautiful woman in this sea? Suddenly Naruto saw Luffy's classic catchphrase and wondered, One Piece, I'm set? Why does this sound so familiar to me? But this Luffy looks so good, ha 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 ha. Hearing this sentence, Shen Ye, who was drinking tea, almost didn't laugh. Can you Naruto laugh at Luffy too? Just the two of you, absolutely the same kind. At this time, 2 more Konoha came in. As soon as he came in, he looked at the situation in the comic shop without a trace. Walking to the cashier, one of them, Chnen, smiled and said, "Boss, I heard that your comic shop is very different, so I came here to try it out." Shen Ye said casually, "The first time I watched it was 5,000 taels per person, and each person could only read 1 copy. After that, the price doubled each time. Hopefully we're lucky." The Chnen took out 10,000 taels and put them on the table. "This is for the 2 of us." Shen Ye put away the money. "The comics are all on the bookshelf, choose for yourself." The 2 looked like ordinary ninjas. However, in the comic shop, any disguise or transformation is invisible in front of Shen Ye. Shen Ye recognized at a glance that the 2 Chnins were impersonated by other hidden village ninjas. It should be that the other spies lurking in Konoha in the hidden village received the wind and came to verify it. There are many such spies in every hidden village. But as long as they didn't interfere with his business, he wouldn't mind someone sending money to his door. The 2 Chnins chose to read a copy of Dragon Babu together. The one who studies comic books is a careful, eager to eat look. However, they have no idea that comics are just ordinary comics. Reading comics to get rewards is the ability of the god-level comic shop system, and it has nothing to do with comics. At this time, Shen Ye looked at the system panel. Host, Shen Ye Comic, Cut. Crimson Eyes, Sailor Moon, Part 1, Dragon Babu, Digimon, Part 1, Velvet Kiss, One Piece, East Blue Extraction, Receive 10 customers can extract a comic book, received, 10/10ths people, can extract, one-time task, accumulate 50 customers, get a mysterious reward, received, 19/50ths people. Seeing that the conditions for one extraction have been met, Shen Ye said to the system, "Extract a comic." System information appears. Start extracting, extracted from the manga, Shinigami Soul Society. Shinigami Soul Society Arc. Kurosaki Ichigo is a boy with the ability to see psychic powers, who originally lived an ordinary life that was no different from other ordinary people. Until a Shinigami girl named Rukia Kukaki was kicked into the corner by him and looked at him suspiciously and asked, "Can you see me?" Time. This is how the story begins. It's another migrant worker from a previous life, and there are so many good things. Shen Ye smiled. Shinigami, Pirate, and Hokage are the 3 most famous manga in the past life. In terms of strength level, Shinigami is no lower than Hokage. Open Bankai can continue to evaporate the entire Soul Society. Captain Yamamoto, Aizensuke, who is known as the C-rank debut of the second dimensional force, and Yuha Bak, who eventually swallows the King of Souls and is omniscient and even changes the future. They are all terrifying monsters. If someone can obtain their abilities, then even if they encounter an immortal level existence, they can be hard-headed. Shen Ye just put the Shinigami manga on the shelf. Inyazuka Tooth led his mother Inyazuka Za and his sister Inyazuka Hana to the comic shop. Inyazuka Tooth pointed to the facade and said, "This is it." Inyazukappa looked up at the plaque, "Aria Manga Store? That's an interesting name." Saying that, he said to Kuromaru and other ninja dogs, "You guys are waiting for me outside." Wang. Kuromaru waited for a few ninja dogs to bark and stayed outside honestly. Inyazuka also asked Akamaru to find a place to lie down. Akamaru, which evolved into Garuruman, has a ferocious appearance and a huge size, making it extremely conspicuous wherever he goes. Inyazukazu's family of 3 walked into the manga store and saw that 6 people were already reading manga. "Yo, Naruto." Inyazuka said hello to Naruto. "Yay, do you read comics too?" "I came here yesterday." Inyazuka showed off a little and said, "I think the Digimon got a Garuruman evolution card, and Akamaru evolved into Garuruman, hehe, teach that little white ninja dog of Konohamaru a good lesson." "I said it was Taigu, not a ninja dog. And we didn't have a winner yesterday, so if we fight again, Akamaru will definitely lose." Konohamaru protested immediately, and then sneered, "I don't know who was scared by my mother yesterday. Alas, it's a shame. You are so old and still afraid of your parents. Little devil, who are you talking about?" Inyazuka was instantly furious. Fear of his parents is definitely the pain he can't mention the most. The key is that this is not fake, he is really afraid. "Yay, you're not here to argue." Inyazuka scolded. Inyazuka could only shut his mouth angrily. Chapter 0025. Inyazuka Hana looked at Shen Ye and felt that Shen Ye was a little familiar, and suddenly a light flashed in his mind. She remembered that she and Mitarashi Anko were classmates before, and she often saw Shen Ye with Yuri Hong and Mitarashi Anko. At that time, many classmates jokingly asked Anko if this boy was your boyfriend. Inyazuka Hana suddenly said, "Boss, I know you, are you Hong and Anko's boyfriend?" Snapped. Inyazuka Pa patted the back of Inyazuka Flower's head, with an expression of "I've lost my practice with this big size," and said angrily, "What nonsense is it?" "No, I'm sorry, I said it wrong, it's their friend." Inyazuka Hana also realized that she had said something wrong and quickly apologized. Shen Ye smiled and said, "We grew up together since we were young." Inyazuka Pa, whose mind is full of Digimon, couldn't wait for a long time, and said, "Boss, the three of us should read comics." Shen Ye said, "Inyazuka is here for the second time, the two of you are here for the first time, a total of 20,000 taels." Inyazukazuo didn't talk nonsense, and paid 20,000 taels directly, and went to pick comics impatiently. The three came to the bookshelf, but there was nothing they could choose from, only the two comics Digimon Part 1 and Shinigami Soul Society were left. Inyazukazu breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the Digimon Part 1 that he wanted to watch the most was still there. Inyazuka Claw and Inyazuka Hana read a book together. Inyazuka can only read the new book Shinigami Soul Society. Do you think Ishida Yamato's Gabumon looks a bit like Akamaru's current appearance? The next stage of Gabumon's evolution is Garurumon, right? Lionmon is so powerful, it can defeat so many Digimon with one punch. A lot of Digimon here are very powerful, and even Jainin can't be a match. Ha ha ha, Gokumon is so interesting. Speaking of which, it looks a bit like the summoning beast from Lord Hokage. The mother and daughter of Inyazuka Peo watched happily, laughing or discussing from time to time, and guessing what the next stage of the Digimon evolution would look like. On the other side, Inyazuka was also fascinated by Shinigami comics. Just the setting of Zanpakuto is very interesting. Each Shinigami has their own Zanpakuto, capable of Shikai and higher level Bankai, with different abilities. One can't help but wonder what each Shinigami's Zanpakuto ability is. The plot is even more compelling. At the beginning of the plot, in order to save the Kurosaki family, Rukia Kukaki violated Siraidi's rules and helped Kurosaki Ichigo to unlock the power of Shinigami. Rukia, who helped Kurosaki Ichigo become a Shinigami, but temporarily lost the power of Shinigami and had to stay in the world, together with Kurosaki Ichigo to carry out the task of dealing with the virtual. However, one day, Byakuya Kukaki and Abarai Renji from the Godai 13 division came to the world from the Soul Society and wanted to take Rukia forcibly and go back to be punished. Kurosaki Ichigo was beaten bloody and fell to the ground. Can only watch Rukia being taken away. The feeling of powerlessness made the eyes of Inyazuka, who had already been substituted into it, turn red, and he secretly clenched his fists. My heart started screaming for Kurosaki Ichigo. Hopefully Kurosaki Ichigo can bring Rukia back. Finally, Kurosaki Ichigo was taught by Urahara Kisuke and successfully mastered Mask and Bankai abilities. Kurosaki Ichigo, Yuryu Ishida, Sato Yasutora and others rushed to the Soul Society from the human world to rescue Rukia at the expense of the entire Godai 13th Division. When Rukia was tied to that huge execution block. When the Fire Phoenix eyes stared at Rukia indifferently, when he was about to be executed. Rukia slowly closed her eyes. Eyes are crying, mouth is smiling. I don't suffer, I don't feel sad, and I don't regret. Thank you, farewell. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo finally arrived. Zangetsu in his hand blocked Fire Phoenix's attack and looked at Rukia. Not too much language. There was only one word of hello as before. Hi. Seeing this, Inyazuka Tooth finally burst into tears. At this time, no matter what provocative lines the author comes up with, it will appear redundant and cumbersome. Only this simple hi can directly hit the depths of the reader's heart. Inyazuka watched with tears streaming down his face. But no one laughed at him at the moment. Because other customers are also immersed in the comics, it is difficult to extricate themselves. Hey, I've finally finished it. Konohamaru finished watching Velvet Pattern at this time and let out a long sigh after reading it. Although the scene is fragrant, the plot is still a bit cruel. After reading it, it almost cast a shadow on his outlook on life. Customer Konohamaru has finished reading Velvet Pattern and got PSP 4000 game console. PSP 4000 game console, a home handheld game console launched by Sony Computer Entertainment, which includes Dynasty Warriors, Resident Evil and other games hum. A brilliant light fell in front of Konohamaru. The four at the table looked expectant. Even the two spies disguised as Konoha shinobi put down their comics and paid attention. Inyazuka-pa and Inyazuka Flower stared brightly. Although I didn't get the reward myself, it's the first time I saw this kind of picture. After a while, the light dissipated. A dark silver PSP 3000 game console was revealed. This is... Konohamaru held the game console in his hand, very strange. Shen Ye explained to him, the PSP 4000 handheld game console has more than 20 stand-alone games. In general, it is very suitable for boys of your age. Game console. Konohamaru was stunned when he saw the PSP 4000 in his hand. This is, a game console? How do you play with something so small? Hearing that Konohamaru's reward was a game console, even Naruto, Inyazuka, and Yuden, who were fascinated by the manga, couldn't help but come over. Shen Ye smiled and said, "Here, I'll show you." Konohamaru hurriedly took the game console over. Shen Ye presses the power button to enter the main interface, selects Dynasty Warriors game, starts with Shu Kingdom, and enters the game with Guan Yu. Oni sauce. Wingda Hudaudu. The enemy is ashamed, let me take off his clothes. Guan Yu, with a rudimentary crescent sword in his hand, single-handedly entered the enemy's line, rampaged, and whatever he looked at, both the enemy generals and the enemy soldiers were harvested like grass. Shen Ye used to play this series of games in his previous life, and it was easy to operate it. Guan Yu has a set of skill combos with flowing clouds and flowing water, with gorgeous special effects and super dynamic. For Konohamaru and the others who had never even played Tetris, it was a nuclear bomb level impact, and they were all dumbfounded. Nani? Is there such a fun thing in the world? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.